Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is abandoned by his team in Wave Harem. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Dracahala117 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1 Beginning. Disclaimer: I do not own Naruto. Attention people, I am sorry for discontinuing Rage of the Beast, so I decided to place this as its replacement. It will have similar aspects from Rage of the Beast as to what I will not tell you. By the way, the harem in this story will in fact include Hinata and Haku. We'll explain when romance comes. Also yes, Sora from Rage of the Beast will be in this FIC as well as Minato and Kushina. Any and all suggestions are appreciated. From the start of Team 7's career it was always the exact same thing. The three of them would show up at the time that Kakashi had specified. They would wait 2 hours for the masked man to show up. And when he finally did arrive he would give some lame-ass excuse on how a cat crossed his path or he got lost on the road of life. Afterwards they would go to the Hokage Tower to receive their D-rank mission where he would do all the work while the rest of his team, his so-called comrades, would sit on the sidelines and watch him struggle to finish the mission. Once the mission was over they would go through teamwork exercises where he and Sakura would spar Sasuke and Kakashi would give the damn Uchiha pointers on how to fix his form. Once the official training sessions were over, he would leave along with Sakura while Kakashi took Sasuke to a secret training ground where he would personally train the Uchiha. In Taijutsu, Genjutsu, and Ninjutsu hell, he even taught him some basic Kenjutsu. The only reason Naruto knew this was because he had followed the two in hopes he could ask Kakashi for some pointers. After the wave mission Naruto became even more depressed. During the mission he had finally made a true friend. Haku was beautiful. She was the itinerary of beauty. She had a good heart, a kind spirit, and she understood his pain. Naruto felt like he was falling in love with her. The two had met the day after they brought Kakashi to Tazuna's place. The two had conversed and comforted each other as they spoke about their past. The two had gone on small dates around town. They had taken long walks in the forest. They even trained a bit together. By the end of the week the two had grown extremely close. Naruto offered to bring both her and Zabuza to Konoha. Haku was easy to convince, and she swore that she would convince Zabuza to accept the deal. The two departed with a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Naruto was so happy that day that he had trouble sleeping, a mistake that he would never forget. The next morning he awoke to find that his team had gone to the bridge. He quickly dressed himself as he stopped a pair of thugs who were about to kill Inari and Tsunami. He ran with all the speed he could muster and managed to get to the bridge as his team attacked the Zabuza and Haku who were trying to make a deal. Sasuke had attacked Haku while Kakashi engaged Zabuza. He didn't make it 3 feet before he was ambushed by another group of thugs. When he finally finished he ran to the bridge. When he finally got there he was greeted to a morbid sight that would haunt his nightmares forever. Kakashi had ran a ball of lightning right through Haku and Zabuza's chest. Zabuza managed to stay alive long enough to kill Gato and a few of his thugs before death claimed him. When he finally managed to get out of his shock from seeing the life be ripped from his dear Haku-chan, he presented himself before his sensei who ordered him to quickly bury the two. As the rest of his team left he had to contain himself from attacking Sasuke as he kicked Zabuza's corpse and walked over Haku's arm. He had spent as much time as he could burying the only woman who had ever showed him kindness, and her adopted father. He had spent hours carving out beautiful headstones for their graves. When he finally returned to Tazuna's house he immediately went on the roof and cried himself to sleep. When they all returned to Konoha he had reclused himself, trained until he dropped from exhaustion, only leaving his training area for team meetings and food. Besides that he slept and trained in one of the older training grounds until he dropped from exhaustion. However, one day he felt drawn to leave his chosen training grounds. He ran through the village until he found a few Kumo shinobi entering the village. The Kumo ninja entered in a group of 4 with a man wearing kage robes leading them. There was a girl with blonde hair and cat-like eyes. She appeared to be a year older than him. There was also a large dark-skinned man with 8 swords on his back wearing sunglasses. The last member did not interest him, only his 2 teammates did. There was an aura of familiarity about the two. The same thing happened the next day. He ran to the place he felt the energy, and found a young woman with crimson hair wearing tomboyish-style clothes entering the village with an elderly man with white hair. The two were both carrying medical field equipment, and he got the same feeling from the young girl that he got from those 2 Kumonin. Later that day he ran to the gates again to see a team from Mist being led by a beautiful-looking woman. She was leading a group of 3 but like the Kumonins, only 2 interested him in the slightest. The man with silky black hair and kept a calm exterior while he blew bubbles from some form of pipe drew his interest. The same thing happened with the brash-looking man with a scar across his left eye. He had green hair and wore a basic Miss uniform with more natural applications added to it. He got the same feeling again from the two Kumo-nin and the young woman. The same thing happened over the week. He got similar feelings of familiarity from a waterfall kunoichi, two IWA ninja, as well as a sand genin. He wondered what the feeling was, and he wondered if they had the same sense of familiarity that he did. He pondered what the feeling was that was making him run to the gates until he decided it wasn't important. When he finally went to sleep, he slept with dreams, his tormented life, his anger, his pain, unaware that the other 9 shinobi he met were all a part of a plot that he and they would decide, unaware of the conversations going on in not only his head but the other 9, with the sand team. Gaara had been extremely confused. Ever since he entered the village he felt at peace. The demon that always demanded he kill and slaughter, the one who he saw as a mother to him, had silenced itself of these demands. In fact, the demon now acted as if it were Gaara's mother. She cooed him to sleep, she comforted him, she encouraged him. The silence from their brother had unnerved his two siblings. They had become restless and more worried. What if their brother went insane at a moment's notice? The two often slept with their weapons right next to them, fearing they would be awoken with the need to fight for their lives. Gaara had walked through the village, and he always had this longing, this need to go search for something, anything, but he always ignored it. He would return to the place they were staying, always feeling hollow, as if he had not accomplished what he set out to do. He was not the only one who felt this way. With the IWA team, Han and Rashi were considered the hotheads of IWA. Out of all of IWA, the only person who could match them in craziness was the missing Nin Deidara, but now, the hotheads were calm, quiet, collected. That Tsuchikage had come with the two, fearing that they would go nuts and destroy the village. True, he disliked Konoha, but regardless of how quickly IWA recovered from the last 3 shinobi wars, each war gave Konoha many benefits that only served to make them stronger. He was not going to risk Iwa's safety because of some old grudge. Rashi and Han always meditated, trying to contact their inner demon, but why? No one realized they weren't the only ones trying to contact their inner demons. With the waterfall team, Fu was the most dangerous kunoichi in the waterfall village. She is just one of several shinobi who make their village feared amongst the minor villages. She also was considered a tomboy. She was brash, rude, disrespectful, but now she was meditating, trying to contact the demon sealed within her by the former village leader. Most believe the old leader died from drinking the hero's water, when in reality he died using a forbidden jutsu to seal the demon inside of her newborn body. She was told of her status as a Jinchuriki from the moment she turned 5 and was trained to be the strongest kunoichi of her time. Some even wondered if she could hold her own against some whirlpool ninja, if there were any still alive, that is. The young kunoichi was quiet, while the rest of her team drank and gambled in the red light district, unaware that she wasn't the only demon container in Konoha. With the mist team, Yugura and Utakata sat facing each other as they sharpened each other's blades while the Godame Mizukage watched them. She was charged with keeping an eye on Yugura since she was the one who gave the tyrant Mizukage a second chance. She had used her clan's special jutsu, a jutsu that returned one to the age of 13 and erased their memories to make the old tyrant a child again. Thinking she could kill him, but she lost her resolve to kill him when she saw the innocence in his eyes. She took the title of Mizukage and gave Yugura a second chance. Yugura and Utakata became quick friends as fellow Jinchuriki. The two became known as the dynamic duo of the mist. The two, however, were nothing like they always acted. They were usually calm but brash. Now they were nervous and edgy. They felt a familiar presence in this village, a presence that called them, yet they ignored something another Jinchuriki did as well. With the medics, Amaru was repeatedly cleaning her medical supplies, constantly counting through the various nerves and pressure points of the body, all to keep her mind distracted from the presence that called to her. Her teacher was nervous. The two had come under Konoha's Ronin qualifications so she could become noted when they rebuilt their long-destroyed village. He was afraid that the young girl who he began to see as his own child would be hurt in these exams. Amaru was usually happy and cheerful. Now she was moody and annoyed. She always sat by the sink, cleaning her tools, counting through various body parts and lethal points. Hell, she ran through them in her sleep, trying to silence the feeling she felt she wasn't the only one trying to silence something. With the Kumo team, Kurabi and Yujito became cranky and moody. They were hardly ever without some form of weapon with them, and they would randomly shout for their bijou to shut the fuck up. Kurabi's brother, the Reikage, was becoming nervous of his brother and his finest kunoichi. He was always readying the seals his father had given him before he died, sealing up the Hachibi in his younger brother. The two Jinchuriki always argued with their demons now, and they usually had such a great relationship with their bijou no one knew the plot that was about to unfold. General POV. The 10 Jinchuriki, All gathered in Konoha, none of them knew the plot that was about to unfold. The only thing they knew was that they felt a familiar presence, never knowing why but always hoping they could find an answer. A single thought ran through all of their minds. What the hell is going on? Little did they know was that their bijou knew and were discussing it as that thought ran through their minds. Mindscape. A midnight sky. A full moon. This was the scene in the bijou's grand mindscape, where they conversed, planned, and made decisions that would alter the world they ruled. The calm scene was broken by a storm of chakra as the energy created by the storm began to take form, make shapes known throughout the elemental countries. The first shape to form was a long fat form with a dark aura emanating from it. As the form began to solidify, it showed a leech-like form with a white no mask with the kanji for 0 right upon the brow. This was the Rabi no Menhiro. The next shape to take form was a bloated shape with a chaotic aura around it. As the form began to solidify, it showed a tanuki made from sand and covered in purple vein-like markings. This was the Ichibi no Shikaku. The third shape to form itself was slim and cat-like. It had a cold, dead aura around it. As the form solidified, it revealed a cat made of black fire with glowing golden eyes. This was the Nibi no Baraniko. The fourth shape to form itself was bloated and covered in jagged shapes. As it solidified, it revealed a massive turtle that was missing one of its eyes. This was the Sanbai no Kaide game. The fifth shape to be revealed was slim yet bulky, almost humanoid in appearance. As it took full form, it revealed a massive red monkey covered in fire. Its fangs were like massive swords. This was the Yambi no Saru. The sixth shape was one of the largest. It had a slim figure with a bulky body with a slim and narrow head. As its form became true, it revealed a warped creature that resembled a horse with a dolphin's head. This was the Gobi no Irakama. The seventh being was bulky, and its form seemed to release a weird substance. When the being took shape, it revealed the most hideous creature one could ever see. The creature was a massive slug with 2 small feet that looked like they were too small to be considered useful. This was the Rokubi no Namakuji. The eighth being was slender, as well as smaller than all the other ones, but it still held an aura of power. Once it solidified, it revealed a massive beetle with horns. This was the Shichibi no Kaburamushi. The ninth being was bulky and slender. It had an aura of power that made all the others in the room seem pathetic. When the aura became solid, it revealed a massive ox with tentacle tails. This was the Hachibi no Kyogyu. And the final form, the one that emanated a power so great that it made all the others tremble in fear, was slender and muscular. As the great aura solidified, it revealed a fox, a massive fox that outsized and outpowered all those in the mindscape. This was the Kyubi no Yoko, current leader of the bijou, since the true leader's passing. Kyubi looked around at his brethren, the demons who he fought with for the last 300 years, the ones who he had risen with to their current status, as they trounced the former order of the bijou with their greatest leader finally gathered together at last. Kyubi grunted in amusement. It's been a while since the 10 of us last convened, hasn't it? The Rabi was the one to answer. Indeed, Kyubi. Not since the time that our leader's passing. Shikaku spoke up. Yes, not since we became leaderless. Had it not been for Kyubi guiding us up to this point, we would not be where we are. Nibi purred out a response. Indeed, but it is time we chose a true leader, one who can bring us above what we are, and we now have that opportunity. Sanbai snarled. When can we choose a leader? I have nothing against Kyubi, but we have been idle for far too long for my tastes. Yambi spoke in a wise yet aggravated tone. I must agree. Without true leadership, we will merely disappear into history like most of the fallen bijou. Gobi added, Indeed, hardly anyone remembers that old dog except for his chosen clan. Rokubi gurgled out, I hope the chance we have been waiting for does not pass us by. We will not get another chance like this. Shichibi buzzed out, Indeed, we may be immortal, but we can only be sealed a few times before we cannot be sealed again, and most of us are on our last host. Hachibi grunted towards Kyubi. So what is the plan, Kyubi? Or is it a work in progress as usual? Kyubi looked at Hachibi in annoyance. I have a plan, Hachibi. By the end of the next few months we will have a new leader. The bijou nodded their heads as they faded into darkness, leaving Kyubi in the mindscape pondering their next move. With Naruto, team meeting spot. Naruto was walking up to the team's meeting spot at the bridge at 5 o'clock in the morning again. He had bags under his eyes that probably broke Konoha records. He had spent the entire night training himself into the ground, trying to forget that image from way that didn't work. Every time he closed his eyes he saw Haku's mangled corpse. As he buried her in the ground he saw the blood on his hands as he carried her in the ground. Why can't he just forget it? He shook his head and slumped to the ground as his teammates arrived at the bridge. Oh, Sasuke-kun, want to go on a date with me tonight? Naruto snorted at the annoying banshee. How the hell could I have ever liked her? No, Naruto made a mental note. That's the 50th time he has rejected her since we returned from Wave. The two noticed Naruto and decided to comment. Hey Dobe. Why do you even bother showing up when everyone knows you won't make it as a shinobi? Sasuke waited for Naruto's response. When he got none he grew angry. Answer your superior's dobe. Naruto merely glanced at Sasuke and went back to ignoring him. Sakura shouted her agreement. Yeah, dobe. You should be on your knees thanking Sasuke for acknowledging your existence. Naruto clenched his fist and released a small amount of killing intent. It wasn't much, but it was more than enough to make the other two tremble in fear. Naruto, the baka is never like this. How can the dobe release such killing intent? I should be the one to have this skill and power. Naruto stopped releasing killing intent as Kakashi entered the field. Kakashi saw that his two favorite students were trembling worse than Tei did on the wave mission. He looked to see that Naruto had no reaction. He narrowed his eyes thinking that the dobe had caused this. Naruto, what did you do to your teammates? Naruto glared at Kakashi and snarled out a response. I shut them up, Hatake. Get used to this. Naruto got up and walked in front of Kakashi. Now, what excuse will it be today? I am not in the mood today, so I would like to know why you are late so I can get to training myself, since you clearly only care about the Uchiha. So? Kakashi released a small amount of killing intent that didn't even faze the blonde. He sighed and rubbed his temple. Okay, I had to get these papers so you three could sign up for the Chunin exams. Kakashi pulled out 3 forms. Before he could pass them out, Naruto snatched one out of his hands as he quickly signed the form and shoved it back in the Jonin's hand. Is that all? Kakashi sighed and nodded his head as Naruto left the field. The other 2 genin quickly signed the papers as they followed the blonde, wondering what was going on with him. With Naruto. Naruto was walking through the village, that same feeling that has been driving him crazy for the last 2 weeks occurring again and again. Ever since those people entered the village, he felt incomplete, as if there was something he needed to accomplish. Naruto was about to make a left turn when, hey Naruto. Naruto turned around to see Sakura coming up the street. What the hell is wrong with you, dobe? You ignored Sasuke. You disrespected sensei. What the hell is going on here? Naruto turned around and began walking off, and on top of that, you haven't asked me for a date once since we got back from wave. What's the deal? Naruto just kept walking. I'm talking to you. She ran after him as a square stone came out in front of her. She tried to stop but ended up tripping right over the rock, crushing it. Wait. What? Naruto heard a crash and turned around to find Sakura laying on top of box that was on top of Konohamaru and 2 other brats. Konohamaru, why are you crushed under Sakura? Konohamaru smiled at the blonde and shouted, we were training, boss. We were looking for you so you could play ninja with us. Naruto chuckled at the 3, that is until Sakura put her 2 cents in. PSH, what would a ninja be doing playing ninja? The 3 kids looked at Sakura and then at Naruto. The little girl amongst the brats raises her hand and starts shaking it in the air. Naruto noticed this. What is it, kid? The girl stopped shaking her hand. Is she your girlfriend? Naruto corked an eye at the girl's question and let out a soft and sad chuckle. No, she isn't. Naruto turned to walk off, nor will she ever be. Sakura was shocked at Naruto's proclamation. She wondered what had happened to the blonde. Konohamaru ran up to Naruto and tried to get him to talk. When that didn't work, he decided to grab Naruto's shuriken pouch and began running off with it. Hey, give that back, you brat. Naruto chased after Konohamaru. He was about to make a jump for the brat when he noticed a man wearing a black cat suit. He was one of the genin who came into the village with the sand genin that caught his interest. Konohamaru turned around and ended up running right into the sand genin. He looked up as his shirt was grabbed by the cat man with makeup. You little shit. I ought to teach you some manners. The genin was about to hit him when the blonde-haired kunoichi next to him grabbed his wrist. Kankuro, now is not the time. If you want to hit someone, wait for the exams or he will be angry. The one known as Kankuro shivered a bit and threw the kid to the ground. Fine, Temari, where the hell is Gaara anyway? Kankuro looked up to see Naruto glaring at him. The two glared at each other until Naruto corked an eyebrow. He then snapped his head towards the tree as he saw the sand genin that caught his interest appear in a swirl of sand. He was followed by Sasuke appearing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto stared at the sand genin. This was one of the genin that released an aura of familiarity, but why? Gaara was staring at Naruto as Sasuke appeared right next to the blonde. What is your name? Sasuke smirked and answered. My name is Uchiha SAS. He was silenced by a glare from Gaara. Not you. He turned his attention towards Naruto. Him. Naruto went wide-eyed. Why was this guy asking for his name? My name is Uzumaki. Naruto. Gaara glared at him again. Who do you contain? Naruto was shocked beyond belief. How did this guy know he contained a bijou? Gaara was curious about why he was asking that question, but it was what his mother wanted. Yes, which bijou do you, sire? Naruto swallowed a lump in his throat. Kyubi no Yoko, how did you know what I was? Sasuke and Sakura looked at Naruto in shock and fear. He was the container of the demon that almost destroyed their village years ago. Gaara smiled. I know, for I contain one of its brethren, the Ichibi no Shikaku. We will meet again. Gaara's shun shined away in a swirl of sand as his teammates followed. Naruto was still wide-eyed, but he was excited. There was another like him. He wondered if there was any others in the world. He smirked, and continued to walk off as the 5 individuals with him stared at him with fear. The next day, Naruto arrived at the front of the academy where they would all be testing for Chunin. His teammates had arrived and were keeping their distance from him. He smiled as they all walked into the building. Cliffy's got a problem, deal with it. Chapter 2, Exams Part 1. Disclaimer: I do not know will I ever own Naruto. Damn. I hope you enjoy the latest chapter. If you have any suggestions, please review and PM. Also flame me or review me. Insert should be femqb. Please flame or review please. Naruto walked up the stairs of the academy as his teammates followed behind him, keeping their distance. Naruto walked up 2 flights of stairs when he stopped. He noticed an irregularity in the air, as if something was manipulating his senses to make him perceive something else. Genjutsu, he mentally thought to himself. He looked to his left to find that there was a large group of people standing in front of a room that said 301, but any fool could figure out that it was a genjutsu. He smirked as he began walking up the stairs. Hey you! Naruto snapped his head to find that Sasuke and Sakura had walked over to the small group. He better not be doing what I think he is doing. Naruto quickly walked over to his 2 teammates. Sasuke decided to show how great he was by revealing the genjutsu. Drop the genjutsu. We all know this is the 2nd floor. Sasuke smirked when the 2 genin in front of him quirked an eyebrow. Sakura here saw it before anybody. He turned towards the Banshee. Right, Sakura? Sakura was wide-eyed that Sasuke was actually talking to her. Ano, yes, of course. This is clearly the 2nd floor. As soon as she finished, the genjutsu was dropped. Sasuke and Sakura smirked until the back of their shirts were grabbed and they were tugged back towards the stairwell. They tried to see who grabbed them, but before they could look they were slammed against the wall. They looked up and were terrified to see that Naruto was glaring at them. I am surprised that you 2 did not use the opportunity given to us to avoid more competition. Naruto's tone was clearly aggravated, and he was obviously not happy with the 2. The fact that he was the Jinchuriki to the Kyuubi no Yoko did not help their quivering fears in the slightest. Naruto dropped the 2 and was about to walk up the stairs. Hey you! Naruto turned around to find a Hyuga, a girl with buns in her hairs, and a guy wearing a green jumpsuit with a bowl cut and massive eyebrows walking over to him. Naruto stared down at the 3. What is it? His tone showed his annoyance. The Hyuga sneered and pointed at Naruto. You, what is your name? Naruto snorted as if he was amused. To think a Hyuga has such bad manners that he would demand someone's name before giving his own. Naruto began walking off until the Hyuga grabbed his shoulder. You insolent wretch, you need to learn how to properly address your betters. The Hyuga reared back a palm strike and was about to slam it into Naruto's chest, severely injuring him, that is, until Naruto grabbed the hand that was holding on to his jumpsuit. The Hyuga quirked an eyebrow until, crunch, he cringed and made a grab for his hand as Naruto began to apply a severe amount of pressure to the hand. It seemed that a few of the finger's bones were broken. The Hyuga struggled until Naruto let go of his hand. He stumbled back but quickly righted himself. Naruto sent a glare at the Hyuga and then proceeded to continue up the steps with his team falling close behind. The 3 genin all had different reactions. The girl, Tenten, was shocked by the seemingly innocent boy's brutality. The boy wearing the leotard, Rock Lee, was shocked that someone had managed to do in a few seconds what he has been trying to do for years. The Hyuga Neji, was angry that this peasant had dared to lay a hand on him. Neji scoffed and proceeded to turn around to walk a different direction. Tenten followed close behind Lee, stayed put, and began to walk up the steps after the blonde and his teammates. Meanwhile, Naruto was walking towards the testing room across a wide lobby with his teammates standing away from him as they slowly followed. They had just reached the other side. Hey you with the attitude? Naruto snarled in annoyance. The last thing he needed was some moron with an ego. He slowly turned around to find that the odd-looking genin from before was standing on the balcony. You have some nerve doing that to a fellow Konohanin. Naruto shook his head in annoyance. What do you want, bushy brows? Lee jumped from the edge and landed in a Goken Taijutsu stance. I am Rock Lee, you are Uzumaki Naruto, am I correct? Naruto smirked that this guy knew his name. Indeed it is, and how exactly do you know my name? Lee smiled a massive smile as he did a pose. My sensei and Kakashi-san are rivals. He has told me of his rival's team. I heard about the Uchiha's skills, Sakura-chan's intelligence. And I also heard about a no-talent genin by the name of Uzumaki Naruto. If what you did to Neji is considered no talent, then I wish to test how strong you are. Naruto quirked an eyebrow and shrugged as he got into a fighting stance that no one recognized. Alright, your move, Lee. Lee smiled as he got into a Goken stance. Naruto smirked as Lee shot himself forwards with his fist raised. Just before Lee's fist connected, he sidestepped it and delivered a knife strike to the elbow. Lee was shocked by the move. Having never seen this type of taijutsu used before, he was unprepared for the pain dealt by that blow. He staggered for a moment as Naruto dealt a painful kick to the middle of his chest. Lee staggered back and clutched his chest in pain. He looked up to find that a foot was coming right down on his head. He moved out of the way in time to avoid the foot. He watched as the foot did damage to the concrete floor beneath it. Naruto cringed a bit. The problem with that kick was that if you missed, and it hit something hard, it hurt like a bitch. He moved his foot back to a fighting stance as Lee began pounding his chest to make sure it was fine. Are you done testing me, Lee? If not, I can say we only have 23 minutes before we have to head to the exam room. Lee scowled and charged forwards. He unwrapped the bandages around his arms and threw a punch. The bandages went straight at Naruto's shin but were stopped by a sharpened windmill. Naruto quirked an eyebrow and then turned to see a turtle. The turtle was massive in size. It was not too big, but it was surely noticeable in size. It seemed to be scowling at Lee. Naruto also sensed a bit of chakra, suggesting that the turtle was a summon. Lee jumped in front of the turtle and kneeled. Sensei, I am sorry, but Lee was cut off by the turtle. Damn it, Lee, you know that jutsu is forbidden, so why did you use it? You should be at the exam room, not fighting your comrades. Lee seemed to become downcast. Are you ready for your punishment? Lee nodded his head. The turtle yelled out, Behold Mato Guy. There was a poof of smoke on the turtle's back and it revealed an older version of Lee with a jounin vest. Why hello, I am Mato Guy, the stunning green beast of the leaf, and taijutsu specialist. The odd man struck a pose until he saw Lee. Lee, you imbecile! Lee was punched square in the jaw and sent to the other side of the room. The man quickly ran over to Lee. Oh Lee, I am so sorry, you are too old to be a boy, and yet too young to be called a man. Lee began to let tears fall at his sensei's words. Guy sensei. Oh Lee, the two embraced each other in a manly hug, or as manly as it can get with that damn sunset background, and cried tears as a sunset background with waves appeared behind them. Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura began twitching at the sight. Oh my god, I am trying to release it but it won't go. Sakura kept up trying to release it, praying it would. I don't know which is worse, this genjutsu, or the massacre. I am conflicted. Sasuke was twitching worse than when Itachi forced him to watch his family die. Find a happy place, find a happy place. Find a happy place. Can't think of one. Naruto was scared worse than any of the beatings he received growing up, and he had plenty to choose from. The two continued until the one known as Guy smiled at them. Well, if it isn't Kakashi's kids. Guy walked over to the turtle. So, has Kakashi taught you three properly, or is he slacking off as usual? Naruto snorted. Yeah, he was training the Uchiha. The turtle noticed Naruto's annoyed misdemeanor and questioned it. Hey Gaki, what's the problem? Naruto turned towards the turtle and snorted, None of your damn business. The turtle snarled at the blonde and marched over. Now you listen to me, you brat. I am trying to be civil here, so you had better show me some respect, or so help me out. The turtle's rant was cut off by a substantial amount of killing intent. Everyone turned their heads to find a Miss Nin carrying a long pole with a camellia on the tip. He had purplish-colored eyes, a green scarf, a black shirt with short fishnet sleeves. He also had a stitched scar down his left eye. The turtle trembled as the man shined in a swirl of camellia blossoms. The man snarled at the turtle. I would suggest you watch how you treat my brethren, turtle. I doubt your master would be very pleased. The turtle trembled as the man walked over to Naruto. He was slightly taller than Sasuke, about the same height as the Hyuga from before. How are you, brother? Naruto quirked an eyebrow, causing the man to chuckle a bit. Sorry, I guess you didn't know I too am a vessel. Naruto went wide-eyed as the man did a curt bow. Yagura Jinchuriki of the Sanbai to Kaede game, and you are? Naruto began to sputter, excited that there was another like him. Uzumaki Naruto Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko. Lee was shocked that there were two Jinchuriki containers. Everyone else watched in fascination as the two conversed. Yagura looked at the clock and frowned. We better get going, brother, or none of us will become Chunin. Yagura walked off. He then turned towards Naruto. I look forward to fighting you, my brother. He then walked through the doors to the testing room where the other two Miss Nin his team were waiting for him. Naruto turned towards his team, who were trembling. Come on. Naruto began walking towards the testing room as his teammates followed. The moment that they got in front of the testing room, Kakashi appeared right in front of Naruto and sent a small hard glance at Naruto. The same thing from the anime happened. Naruto walked through the doors and saw the 100 or so genin in the room. He smirked as he saw Gaara and Yagura. The two Jinchuriki brothers smiled back at him. Hey guys. Naruto turned to see Ino running up to them with Choji and Shikamaru trailing behind. How are you guys doing? She smiled as Sasuke came into the room. She quickly glomped him, which Naruto rolled his eyes at. Well, it looks like the whole gang is here. Naruto watched as Kiba and his team walked up to them. Naruto watched as Hinata got a dreamy look in her eyes from watching him. Naruto quirked an eye. Wondering why she had that look, he shrugged and paid it no mind, thinking that she was looking at someone else. Hey, you lot should keep it down. Naruto and the gang looked to see a white-haired Konoha genin with glasses begin to walk up to them. This isn't the place to go shouting around, but I guess the cute little rookies wouldn't know this anyway. My name is Yakushi Kabuto. Kabuto looked at the 9 genin and smirked. Hey, do any of you want information on some genin? Naruto looked at Kabuto with a calculating eye as Sasuke walked up. I would like information on Sabaka no Gaara, Rock Lee and Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto glared at Sasuke, who noticeably flinched, confusing everyone in the vicinity. Oh, you know their names, that's no fun. Kabuto reached into his ninja pouch and pulled out a deck of blank cards. Naruto quirked an eye until he noticed that Kabuto was pouring a bit of chakra. The card showed a picture of Sabaka no Gaara with his various stats. Okay, let's see here. Sabaka no Gaara, genin rank, has been on 5 D ranks, 2 B ranks, and 1 A rank. He has never been scarred in his life. Impressive. Kabuto took out another card and began charging chakra into it. The card showed Rock Lee and his various stats. Next up is Rock Lee. He has no skill in ninjutsu or genjutsu due to a disease he received from his mother, has been on 23 D ranks, 5 C ranks, and is extremely skilled in Goken Taijutsu. Not bad. Kabuto pulled out one more card and charged chakra into it. The card showed Uzumaki Naruto along with his stats. Last but not least, Naruto surprised me shitless. Uzumaki Naruto scowled at the genin's attempt to make a joke out of his surprise, has chakra reserves that are beyond jounin, is incapable of using low-level genjutsu, low-level ninjutsu is also beyond his reach, is only capable of ninjutsu and genjutsu that are B rank or above, maybe high C rank. Everyone was staring at Naruto with surprise and a bit of fear from Sasuke and Sakura. Surprisingly, he is the dobe of his class. He has been on 12 team D ranks, 5 solo D ranks and 1 team A rank with a single solo A rank before he even became a genin. I must say I am impressed. Not many genin can claim to have done a solo A rank directly received from the kage of their village. Naruto smiled at him, but released a bit of killer intent. By the way, do you happen to have stats on the various villages? Kabuto smiled as he took out another card and charged chakra into it. The card immediately showed a map of the elemental nations with the village stats showing next. There are over 12 teams from Konoha, 3 from Suna, 6 from Iwa, 1 from Taki, 5 from Kiri, as well as a few ronin with qualification from the daimyos. Also, there is 1 team from the new Oto village, but I wouldn't worry about them. They are probably beneath most of you guys anyways. Besides that, there are mostly ninja from the smaller villages. Kabuto smiled as Naruto's killing intent led up. Meanwhile, the team of Otonin were glaring at Kabuto. They got even more pissed when Naruto shouted out that he would kick those weakling Otonin's asses. The one that looked like a mummy got a face tick and turned towards his 2 comrades. All for kicking the blonde's ass, say I. The bandaged man smirked. It was unanimous. They jumped over the other genin and charged at the blonde. No one noticed the 3 ninja about to intercept them. Naruto turned his head as the 3 Oto genin charged at him. Naruto snarled and got into a fighting stance as they all were about ready to strike. Clang crunch shing. Naruto looked up to see a giant of a man wearing samurai armor and some sort of steam machine grabbing the mummy man's wrist gauntlet. A man wearing old traditional guard robes and had a red mark go across his face held a knife at the spiky-headed Oto genin's throat. The young red-headed woman was behind the Oto kunoichi and had a scalpel at her throat. The large man spoke with a booming voice. I would suggest you think before you attack someone. The other man spoke as he pressed the knife closer to the genin's throat. You never know who is watching their back. The young woman turned her head towards Naruto. Isn't that right, brother? Silence. Everyone was shocked how the young woman referred to Naruto. Were they related, or was it just some witty remark? Kiba voiced the thought on everyone's head. Brother. I thought Naruto was an orphan. Naruto looked at Kiba and smirked. They are family by a different way. Naruto glanced at Sasuke and Sakura. Right, guys? The 2 genin shivered as they nodded their head, knowing exactly what Naruto meant. Naruto smiled and turned towards the 3. I hope to see you 3 in the exams. The 2 men turned around and smiled at Naruto, or I smiled in the samurai's case. Indeed, brother. The 3 walked off as the rest of the genin in the room shivered at the presence of the 4. It didn't help that 5 others began releasing the same aura. Not even a second later, a large bear-like man came into the room. All right, you maggots. I am the proctor for the first exam, Marino Ibiki. 5 minutes later they were inside a room with desks and papers. Everyone sat down as the proctors examined them. The bear-like man spoke up, getting everyone's attention. All right, these are the rules and no one interrupts me, or you all will fail. Everyone was extremely quiet at that point. Good, there are 10 questions. You will be answering the first 9 during the first 45 minutes. The last 15 minutes will have the final question. If you cheat, then you will be docked down 2 points for each found cheating attempt. If you lose all 10 points, you will fail and be removed from the testing area. Begin. Pencils were scraping against the desks the moment he finished. Naruto noticed that 2 teams were answering questions faster than he expected. They had to be plants. Naruto looked at his test and cringed. There was no way he could answer these types of questions. They were beyond what genin were capable of. Naruto sighed until, Naruto-kun. Naruto turned to find that Hinata was sitting next to him. If why you want, you can see copy my answers. Hinata slowly edged the paper. When the paper was almost to him, Naruto sent a small amount of chakra that made Hinata stop. She looked at Naruto to see him shaking his head. Hinata nodded, but was obviously upset. She couldn't help. Naruto looked at his test again. How could he possibly answer these questions? Naruto sighed, but his attention was caught by a small beetle that released an odd aura. He looked to see that the beetle was making scratches in the table that only caught his attention. He watched as the message became clearer. Brother, I know you are having trouble, so I sent a Yuki-charged centipede to give you some assistance. Only you and our brethren will be able to see it, and our brethren will not betray each other, no matter the circumstances. Sincerely, Fu Jinchuriki of the Shichibi no Kabutomashi. Naruto smiled as the centipede began writing out the answers. He smiled as he began writing down the answers that the demonic centipede wrote them. He finished writing the answers and decided to kick back as the centipede crawled back to its master. Fu was pleased that her pet managed to help her brother. She and the Shichibi discussed that it would be beneficial for her to help her brethren even if it meant betraying her village. She sent a small ant towards another one of her brethren that she thought was having trouble. By the end of the 45 minutes, many teams had been removed, leaving all the Jinchuriki teams and a few non-Jinchuriki teams to their own. All that was left was the 10th question. Ibiki was surprised that so many had managed to get this far. He was inwardly smiling. The next test would cut their numbers at least in half. Alright, listen up. You may have answered the first 9 questions, but the 10th question is harder than all of them. Although a few rules will be placed beforehand. Ibiki waited for the genin to quiet down before he continued. The 10th question, you have a choice to take it or not, but if you refuse to take it, then you will automatically fail, and not be allowed to take the exams until next time. Temari from the Suna team stood up. Then why wouldn't we take it? Ibiki gained a dark smirk as he answered. Because if you take the question and fail it, you will never be allowed to take the Chunin exams ever again. Ibiki was amused at their reactions. He watched as a few caved in, leaving on 26 teams left. The reaction from one of them definitely surprised him. You fools, do you honestly think he has the power to forbid you all from taking the Chunin exams in other nations? No man, no Kage has that authority. The statement was from the one known as Utakata, and besides, rank means nothing in the shinobi world, especially in mission. Everyone was confused, until the Kumo Kunoichi spoke. If you are given a mission, and you are afraid, do you deny it and live another day? The next one to speak was the one known as Fu. If we are afraid, do we surrender? The Ronin Amaru continued, or do we persevere? All the Jinchuriki turned towards Naruto. Well, brother? Everyone turned to see that the blonde had a massive smirk on his face. Of course not, my dear siblings. Naruto stood up, releasing an intimidating yet inspiring aura. If we are asked to do something, we do it. If we see an objective, we complete it. If there is risk of death, we die for our goals. Otherwise, we would not be shinobi. Anyone who thinks otherwise is either foolish or stupid if they call themselves shinobi. Naruto smirked as the large man scowled. Is that your answer? Are you willing to risk everything just to pass an exam? Everyone nodded their heads, causing the man to smirk. Then you all pass. Everyone cheered. The Jinchuriki looked at each other with smiles. They got up but frowned as they saw a black ball heading for the window. Duck and cover. Everyone dropped down as a black ball crashed through the window. It unfurled to reveal a banner with a scantily clad kunoichi with purple pineapple-shaper hair. Alright, maggots. I am Mitarashi Anko. Welcome to hell. Anko, you're early again. Anko blushed until she saw the genin. Ibiki, she said in a playful scolding manner. Are you getting soft on me? Ibiki smiled at the kunoichi. No, we just have one hell of a crop this year. Anko smiled at that. Well, then it looks like it will be fun to cut their numbers in half then. Alright, everyone follow me. She screamed the last part as she jumped from the window, forgetting that she was on the 3rd floor. Crunch www on second thought. She spoke in a pain-filled voice. Just come to Area 44 tomorrow. Everyone sighed as they left the room and headed for their hotels. Naruto had a severe irritation in his nose the moment that woman entered the room. He felt the undescribed urge to kill her for some reason, yet something about her seemed familiar, as if he has seen her before. The one called Karabi was having the same issue. He decided to ignore it, and proceeded to walk out the door until a bug flew on his hand. He watched as it etched a message into his skin. Meet at midnight at the northern gate. We have much to discuss with our brethren Fu. Naruto sighed and looked to see that the Jinchuriki were nodding. He nodded back as he walked out the door, unaware that a certain white-eyed heiress was watching him. Hinata watched the exchange between the two. She watched as the insect etched marks into Naruto's skin. For some reason no marks appeared, but her Byakugan was sharp enough that she could trace the faint movements in the insect's movements. She decided to follow Naruto, afraid of what might happen to the only person she loved besides her mother. Midnight, Northern Gate. Naruto walked to the Northern Gate as per the instructions. He made sure he had a weapon at the ready just in case he needed to defend himself. When he got there he saw that the 9 individuals who he felt the familiar aura from gathered there. He suspected that they were all Jinchuriki, and wondered what was going on. When he got there the Kumo Kunoichi smiled at him. Ah, brother, you're here. Naruto smiled at his sister, if that was the best way to put it. Hello sister, by any chance, may I know the name of my brethren? The woman smiled as she introduced herself. My name is Niyujito Jinchuriki of the Nibi no Baraniko. The large Kumo man next to her answered next. Kirabi Jinchuriki of the Hachibi no Kyogyu. The 2 IWA shinobi stepped forwards. The large samurai spoke first. Han Jinchuriki of the Gobi no Irakama. The other IWA shinobi with the red mark on his face spoke next. Rashi Jinchuriki of the Yambi no Saru. The 2 remaining kunoichi walked up. The redhead spoke up. Amaru Jinchuriki of the Reibi no Menhairu. The other kunoichi with greenish hair came forwards. Fu Jinchuriki of the Shichibi no Kabutomashi. The 2 Kiri ninja came forwards. The man that introduced himself before spoke up. Yagura Jinchuriki of the Sanbai no Kaide game. The black-haired man with a charming disposition came forwards with his bubble pipe. I am Utakata Jinchuriki of the Rokubi no Namakuji. Naruto watched as Gaara came forwards. My name is Sabaka no Gaara Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shikaku. Everyone turned their head towards Naruto. They all gave him a stern glance. It was not cruel, but it was more expecting. Naruto sighed as he took a step forwards. He puffed out his chest and declared with pride, I am Uzumaki Naruto and I am the Jinchuriki of the Kyubi no Yoko. Everyone smiled as they held out their hands and brought them together. They began charging their chakra into the point where they were all touching. Naruto saw this and joined in. He began flooding the area with chakra as they were pulled into the Bija mindscape. Hinata, same time. Hinata was sneaking around Konoha with nimble feet. She had followed Naruto from his house and went to the northern gate. She watched as each of the individuals there introduced themselves. Each introduction scared her, but Naruto's proud declaration at being the Jinchuriki for the Kyubi no Yoko shocked her beyond belief. She quickly turned around and ran home distraught and confused. General POV. Naruto and the Jinchuriki were falling, but they felt no fear, no need to worry. It was like they had nothing to fear from this place. They watched as their descent began to slow. They landed on their feet and watched as the shape of their Biju became apparent in front of them. The 10 Jinchuriki faced their inner demons literally as the 10 lords of nature kneeled so they could better speak to their hosts. Kyubi started. Naruto, we meet at last. Naruto smiled at the giant fox. Hey Kyubi, how are you doing? Kyubi chuckled at his container's question. I am doing fine, but for now, we must discuss what is to happen during the Chunin exams. Naruto straightened up as Kyubi puffed out his chest. During the Chunin exams, you 10 will have to make it to the final rounds of the exams, and I do mean all of you. If even one of you are not present in the final rounds, then our plan will fail. I will not give any information besides that for now. Naruto nodded his head as Fu spoke up. Kyubi, what is the purpose of this plan? Kyubi chuckled at the young kunoichi and turned towards her. What is to happen is that one of you will become more than what you once were. One of you will be granted a title all demons have sought. One of you will become the new Jubi. Chapter 3, Exams Part 2. Disclaimer: I do not own Naruto or any other anime or manga. Son of a bitch, that sucks. Anyways, please read, review, PM, flames. I don't care if you flame or not. The Jinchuriki siblings stared at Kyubi, shocked at what he had just said. The Jubi? Are you serious, Kyubi? Utakata shouted, completely shocking his friend Yagura. He was normally very calm, but then again the idea of becoming the Jubi was probably too much to handle. Naruto was actually stuttering, trying to respond to what his Bija had said. Gaara was actually twitching with shock. Yujito had dinner plate eyes. Yagura's jaw was wide open. Han and Rashi were trying to support each other from being so shocked. Fu was speaking in random gibberish, not being able to form coherent words. Utakata was hyperventilating. Amaru dropped her medical scalpel, and Karabi was trying and failing to rap out a response. Kyubi smiled at the reactions. Yes, did I stutter? One of you will surpass the others and become the Jubi, but there is a process that must be adhered to before any of you can become the Jubi. Everyone, including the Bija, looked at Kyubi. Kyubi-sama. Kyubi looked to his surprise to see Naruto actually calm. What is the importance of the Jubi? The Bijou looked irritated for a minute. One of the Bijou even shouted their feelings. You insolent ninjen, the Jubi is the greatest title anyone could ever ask for. How dare you ask its importance I should. Sanbai's rant was cut off by Nibi smashing her flaming tails in front of the massive turtle. Be silent, Sanbai. Ninjen have no knowledge of our systems of command, so it is not surprising that he would ask its importance. Sanbai looked down, realizing he had overreacted again. He looked at Naruto and bowed his head. Naruto, forgive me, I overreacted. Naruto looked at the Sanbai and smiled. All is forgiven, but I have a question. Could you possibly tell us of your demonic ranking system? I just want to know so that I don't show disrespect in the future. The Bijou looked at Naruto in confusion, but it quickly turned to glee that a ninjen wanted to know of their ranking system, especially given the hateful prejudice towards their race. Kyubi stepped forwards and smiled. It is no trouble, Naruto. The demon ranking system has long since been forgotten by ninjen, and we have no problem explaining to you what the actual rankings are. Kyubi sighed as he lay down. You might want to get comfortable. Our history is extensive, even to the most devoted scholars. The Bijou and Jinchuriki sat down, seats forming under them that they imagined up. Kyubi turned towards his brethren and nodded his head before he began speaking. The rank of Bijou is as old as the third demon era. We are in the fifth era. It was created when the old demon lords began vying for power. Wars broke out that sent nations, empires, innocents, into the pages of histories. The leader of the demons felt that one supreme lord cannot keep all of them in check. So in his efforts to bring about peace, he created a new caste system of 12 lords, with the demon Imperial leading the group. The 11 Bijou would rule over their given territories, while the Imperial would keep the loose ends in check. He chose to signify the rankings through number of tails, with the Reibi being of lowest ranking, while the Jubi held the highest ranking. For the first era, the title of Bijou was a status that was highly honored amongst our kind, even the most noble of the demon clans showing reverence to the Bijou. However, during the reign of the fourth demon Imperial, the status of Bijou became an inherited icon, rather than an earned icon as the lord before him intended. The rank of Bijou became passed down through the clans of the noble families that honored the fourth lord. The clans that honored him were the noble families of the frog, snake, badger, dog, weasel, rooster, shark, bee, bat, and fallen dragon clans. The title of Bijou was inherited in the strongest member of each of these clans for over 4,000 years. Those that viewed this as a direct denial of the 3D Lord's plan were quickly executed. Over time, the title of Bijou was a title that only those of those 10 noble families could have, and each member of the clan received the same title as the one before them, no matter the difference in power. One day, I and my brethren, referring to the Bijou, decided it was time that the title of Bijou had to be removed from inheritance. So we spent over 1,000 years training, along with a young demon prince of one of the noble clans, to take down the current Bijou, as well as the ruling lord. We gathered the forces of our clans and brought our armies against the ruling lords, crushing all opposition in our path. We defeated the leading Bijou and ended the reign of the demon king himself. The final blow was struck by our longtime friend, the last member of a noble family that the demon king had slaughtered without mercy. For over 1,000 years we ruled in peace alongside our clans. However, disaster struck when the Hachibi of the fourth reign killed our leader, the Jubi no Ukami. She was giving birth to her newborn pup, when the Yamato no Orochi killed her and devoured her child. Kyubi began to dig his claws into the ground, letting a few tears fall from his eyes. How could a member of a clan that preached that the weak must be protected kill a defenseless mother and her pup in cold blood? Kyubi released a substantial amount of killing intent, knocking most of the Bijou and all of the Jinchuriki back. He noticed that they were all quivering in fear. He quickly let up his killing intent as he let a sad sigh escape his breath. Forgive me, it's just that we all dearly cared for our departed leader. Even the fifth lord was hard-pressed to move on from her death. Kyubi sighed. Anyways, demonic ranking system is basically the Imperial Lord ruling everything, while the Bijou cover the smaller details while directly reporting back to them. When the Jubi died, there was a rift in power. With the death of the Jubi, I had to take command. But since I was not strong enough, I could not take the title of Jubi myself, but our Lord came up with a plan. Every one of the Jinchuriki listened intently at this point. Our Lord realized that humans, while physically frail, demonstrated qualities that would allow them the capabilities to grow strong. However, the Demon Lord could not leave our kingdom to find a human worthy of the title, so we went and allowed ourselves to be sealed into Ninjen, hoping that either the Ninjen would be worthy or we would find a Ninjen worthy from the Ninjan's eyes. However, we could only be sealed a few times. Depending on our levels of power, I can only be sealed once, while Reibi can be sealed a number of times. We spent 300 years searching for a worthy Ninjen to become the Jubi. When we were all put into Jinchuriki, it presented an opportunity. We decided that the strongest of our hosts would become the Jubi, and our Lord did not disagree. Naruto nodded along with the other Jinchuriki. Kyuubi smiled and then immediately became serious. Our time is up. You all must return to the real world. If you have questions, just meditate until your bijou comes before you. The Jinchuriki phased away in a mirage pattern and returned to their world. The bijou also phased out, leaving Kyuubi alone. Kyuubi quickly used his claws to reach behind him. He then dragged the paw right in front of him and turned it over so that a massive black claw was sitting in his paw. Urufachan. Kyuubi placed the claw over his heart as he phased out, a single tear flowing from his eye. Next day, Forest of Death. Naruto arrived to the Forest of Death an hour early along with his brethren. He looked around and saw that everyone else was arriving. He looked around for his teammates to find them walking up to him. Naruto watched as the two walked up to him in total fear. Hey guys, hope you two are ready for this. The two nervously nodded, to which Naruto simply rolled his eyes. He turned towards Anko, who seemed to still be limping a bit, but otherwise she was okay. He noticed that Karabi was glaring at her. He himself found himself wanting to attack her for some reason, but something about her just kept him from attacking her. Alright maggots, this is the Forest of Death. You won't find a deadlier forest here in Konoha. This is where many of you will die, so I am going to have to ask you to sign these waiver cause I really don't want to have to deal with the paperwork. Anko smiled as Naruto scoffed. I don't need to sign anything cause no one will care if I die. Anko let a sad look cross her eyes, but snuffed it out with a sadistic smirk. She quickly shunned shine behind Naruto and placed a kunai at his throat. Anko whispered into his ear, "You're wrong, people do care." Naruto let a bit of shock cross his features, but quickly snuffed it out as he pulled out a kunai and stopped a kunai that was coming for Anko's throat. He looked at who it was that had the kunai, and was filled with a murderous intent 100 times worse than when he was around Anko. He even heard Kyuubi become agitated. He was screaming for him to kill him, but he wasn't able to understand what Kyuubi was saying. Anko looked at the grass neen behind her and let a sadistic smirk touch her features. I would suggest you back off, it could get you killed. The grass neen smiled and backed off. Sorry, I get so excited by violence that I can hardly control myself, it won't happen again. Anko smirked at the grass ninja and turned towards the rest of the genin. Alright maggots, get to the tent and get your scroll. After that, report to your respective gates now. The genins scrambled towards the tents to retrieve their scrolls, fearing for their lives. Naruto went to get his scroll when he bumped into someone. He fell right onto his ass and looked to find that he had bumped into Hinata. Hinata quickly turned around, confused and afraid. What should I do? I can't tell anyone or I could ruin Naruto's life, but what if Naruto has been taken over by Kyuubi? Then is the Naruto I know truly Kyuubi, but I fell in love with who he is, not his name, so why should it matter? But still Hinata was confused as to her feelings towards the blonde. She wanted to talk to someone, see if she could make the right choice, but she was afraid to ruin Naruto's life. Naruto meanwhile was gathering with his team at the gate. Sakura and Sasuke were talking quietly so as to make sure Naruto does not hear them. Sasuke-kun, what should we do? We don't know if Naruto is the Kyuubi or if he contains it. It is too dangerous to be with him right now. Sasuke sighed as he pondered the fangirl's words. I know, but we need all 3 of our teammates to pass this exam, and if worse comes to worse we can just kill him. Kyuubi or not, he is still the dope. Sakura smiled at her Sasuke-kun's logic. Oh Sasuke-kun, you always come up with the best plans. Hey, after this could we go on? A Sakura started. No! Sasuke turned around and walked towards the gates as the signal to begin was sent. Sakura quickly ran after the two who were already running through the forest, unaware that the grass neen from before was watching their movement. The grass neen had a devious smirk on his face. He watched as his prey entered the forest. Soon Sasuke-kun, I will have your body, and it will be one more slap into the face of my old nemesis. Using the bloodline he created as my power, the grass neen jumped into the forest as his 2 subordinates scattered, leaving behind trails of skin as they left skin like a snake's. With Naruto was leaping through the trees with his 2 teammates following him. He became extremely edgy when he saw Sasuke looking at him with that same look. The villagers gave him hateful fear. It didn't matter to him. He just made sure he had some of his new shuriken. He spent weeks working on them and he finally finished them last night. Naruto jumped over another branch and stopped on a branch before he gave a hand sign for them to stop. Sasuke and Sakura quickly stopped. Sasuke readied a kunai while Sakura pulled out a kunai Kakashi gave her. It was a double-blade kunai. Naruto began sniffing the air. He looked around as he smelt a odd, familiar stench. He continued sniffing as he began walking over the tree. Naruto walked around the tree as his teammates watched him with curiosity. He walked all over the tree, but stopped when he hit the end of the massive branch. He continued sniffing and looked down. His eyes widened with terror and snapped his head towards his teammates. Run! Naruto jumped out of the way as a massive set of reptilian jaws closed down on the branch where Naruto was standing. Naruto slammed into Sasuke and Sakura, and with a bit of newfound strength thanks to Kyuubi, he jumped to a different branch while carrying his two teammates. He landed on a branch and snapped his head towards the place where he was standing to find a massive snake. The creature had a narrow jaw and had teeth the size of a long kunai. It had a silver eye with a black slit. The scales looked like massive blades that could cut through the undergrowth. The snake snapped its head towards the three and smiled. The snake was actually smiling at them as it coiled itself around the branch. Naruto got a good look at it, and guessed that the snake was about 120 to 135 feet long. It was brown in color with black scar-like markings all over its body. The snake had what looked like a sharpened edge on its tail. Naruto stood his ground as the snake rose itself. Well, what have we here? The Jinchuriki of my master's rival, how fortuitous of me. The snake hissed out in a distinctly female voice. Naruto's eyes went to the size of dinner plates. This thing talked. What the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Naruto pulled out a kunai he had been working on and got ready to attack the snake. The snake chuckled as she answered. Oh, who am I? I am Stentos. Stentos launched herself at Naruto and his team. Naruto quickly threw the kunai in her mouth and grabbed his teammates, as she curled back in pain. Damn Jinchuriki, you will pay for that. She launched herself at Naruto as he jumped over the incoming snake. She quickly snapped her head towards the blonde who was running down her back. She hissed as she launched herself at the blonde. Naruto smirked as he waited for her jaws to be in range. Stentos was 100 feet from Naruto when he threw a shuriken at Stentos. Stentos paid it no mind and continued her assault. The shuriken then began to click and whir as the blades segmented themselves and launched outwards. They wrapped around Stentos' mouth and began wrapping around the jaws. Stentos' eyes widened and she tried to retract, but she found that one of the blades hit a nearby branch. Her eyes widened as Naruto grabbed a blade that landed near him. He smirked as he jumped down as the light hit an invisible string that was directly attached to the shuriken. Stentos hissed as her head was yanked down and slammed into the side of the tree she was on. Naruto ran around the tree and wrapped the wire around the massive snake. He threw the blade at the tree hard enough to dig it in and jumped back up. He smiled and turned his back, but he froze when he saw another snake right in front of him. The snake quickly opened its jaws and was about to swallow up the blonde. Naruto dodged to the side as the snake clamped its jaw onto the branch he was on. The snake snarled, the snake slammed its jaws down and crushed the branch in its teeth. It turned its head at Naruto and hissed as it opened its mouth, poison dripping from its fangs. Naruto had a single thought running through his head. Oh shit! He quickly turned and ran as the snake charged at him. Naruto opened up his pouch and pulled out a pill. He had spent a week developing it, and he had yet to test it. It was a smoke and poison pill. If he managed to throw this in the right vicinity, he should be able to kill anyone who breathes in its poison. He quickly threw the pill down the snake's mouth. Naruto watched as the snake continued its assault, then closed his eyes as the snake was about to bite down, but it never came. Naruto looked up to see the snake spasming and screaming. The snake looked towards its stomach as it began to fester and boil until it split right open. Its organs poured out of the wound as the snake's head slammed onto the branch. Dead from an acidic poison, Naruto stared at the snake's head, the fangs still dripping their poison, searing the wood it touched. Naruto slowly backed away. As he looked around he saw no other snakes and got up, but his eyes widened when he felt a buildup of chakra. He was blown back by a massive shockwave that sent him careening through the trees. Sasuke and Sakura watched as Naruto was shot over their heads as they turned to see the grass nin from before walking through the overgrowth, smiling like a predator that has captured its prey. Ah, Sasuke-kun, it's so good to see you. The grass nin jumped at the two as he released a substantial amount of killing intent, making it so either of them can move. I can't move, Sasuke struggled as the grass nin continued forwards, readying a final strike. No, I can't end like this. Am I really this pathetic? Sakura watched as the ninja brought out two kunai, both poised to end their lives. The two genin closed their eyes as the kunai were only 3 feet away, but the sound of metal meeting metal broke them out of their trance. They opened their eyes to see the two IWA ninja from before stopping each of Orochimaru's kunai with their own weapon. The man with the red mark across his face using a battle hammer, while the large man with the furnace on his back used a massive axe. The grass nin did not have time to move as the two buried their fists into his chest. He coughed up some blood as the combined force from the two Jinchuriki's punches sent him careening into a faraway tree. Both Jinchurikis turned towards Sasuke and Sakura, who are panting from finally being released from the terrible killing intent. Both of you get out of here. We will not allow our brother's teammates to be harmed. Go. The two then jump to attack the grass nin, who is pulling himself out the hole in the tree. Sasuke and Sakura are shocked that the two could manage something so astounding. Sasuke quickly became jealous of their strength, believing he should be the one to have that power. Sakura was too scared to even think. The grass nin finally managed to pull himself out of the tree just in time to move out of the way to avoid Rashi's warhammer. He had to duck to keep Han's axe from beheading him. The two Jinchuriki got into an unfamiliar stance where Rashi was in a crouching stance with his fists connecting with the branch, while Han was towering over him with his arms pointed upwards and his hands in a double knife strike. Bijuten, Yoni no Gobikai. The two were overcome by demonic chakra. Rashi's was a dark red, while Han's was a white color. A single tail of chakra formed behind each of them. Rashi had a monkey tail, while Han had what looked like a dolphin tail. The grass nin had a wicked smile cross his features as he began to allow a dark chuckle escape his lips. So too Jinchuriki, this will be fun. The grass nin grabbed the top of his face and began to peel it off, allowing his true features to be shown. His skin was as pale as death, he had purple markings under his slitted golden eyes. Allow me to introduce myself, I am Orochimaru. Orochimaru jumped at the two Jinchuriki, but quickly veered beneath them as he passed through their legs. He quickly kicked them in the back, sending the two toppling over each other, as he turns towards the still terrified Sasuke. He lets a predatory smile grace his features as he extends his fangs. Sasuke-kun, you are mine. He extends his neck towards Sasuke, ready to clamp down on High Neck, claiming him as his own, but Sakura jumps in the way, resulting in his fangs burying themselves in her left breast. Sakura screams in pain as a curse mark develops on her breast. Orochimaru pulls away, ripping off her shirt to reveal the mark to become a series of 3 bent bars, Taiya's curse mark. She collapses to the ground as Sasuke runs over to her side. Damn, Sakura, what were you thinking? Sakura groans as the pain shoots through her body. She smiles at Sasuke as she speaks. People do crazy things when they're in love. She passes out as Sasuke tries to revive her. Sakura-chan, damn you monster. Sasuke runs at Orochimaru, who is snarling that he wasted precious enzymes on a worthless female. But he smiles when he sees Sasuke charging at him. Sasuke runs through some hand seals as he throws a few wired shuriken that wrap around the trees and catch onto Orochimaru's arms. Katan, Gokaku no Jutsu. A fireball the size of a house is blown that covers the wires and begins shooting towards Orochimaru. Orochimaru smiles as he begins to dissolve into mud. Sasuke went wide-eyed as he saw the fireball hit a mud clone. Sasuke froze as he felt a pinch on his neck, which quickly turned into searing pain as a curse mark in the shape of 3 tomos developed on the crook of his neck. He fell to the ground screaming. Orochimaru smiled, but he sneered as he had to dodge a kunai being thrown by Sakura. She had managed to somehow overcome the curse mark and now was partially utilizing it. He raised an eyebrow, intrigued by this development. She survived the curse mark and is already utilizing it, but how? She is not a Jinchuriki. She has no special qualities such as demon blood or a Kekii Genkai. She is human. So why is it she can utilize it so quickly after being adhered with it after only a few minutes? Anko could not even use the curse mark when she barely survived it after 3 days. I must capture her and dissect her to see if this can be utilized in others. Orochimaru smiled as he began to reach for her, but he had to jump out of the way as Rashi delivered a punch on the tree he was on, severing the branch. Rashi grabbed Sasuke, who was still keeling over in pain, as Han grabbed Sakura. Let's go. We need to get our brother's comrades out of here stat. The two jumped into the trees as Orochimaru recovered from the 2 Jinchuriki strikes. Damn Jinchuriki, so they want to protect their brother's comrades, so be it. Medusa, take care of him. A shadow slithered away from his own as it went in the direction Naruto was in. And now for the 2 I have marked. Orochimaru jumped into the trees after the Jinchuriki, and the 2 he marked with Naruto. Naruto groaned as he tried to get up. He pulled himself out of the ground where he landed. Looking around, he noticed that he had landed in a swamp. Naruto carefully walked through the swamp so as to not disturb anything in it. He had spent enough time in the forest of death as a kid to know that if you saw anything move, throw kunai first, ask questions later, then throw a kunai at the non-moving things just to be safe. Naruto was about to step on a rock when it slowly began to move. Naruto panicked and used his chakra to jump out of the way. He then questioned why the hell he didn't do that before to get out of the swamp. Naruto watched as the rock revealed itself to be a turtle. The thing was about the size of a large Inuzuka dog and was clearly vegetarian. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief until he felt a hot wind on his neck. He slowly turned around and his eyes widened as he saw what was behind him. It was the most terrifying thing he had ever seen in his entire life. The body was snake-like, but it was made up of thousands of smaller snakes ranging from blue, purple, or silver. All of them had a shiny appearance, but the head resembled that of a woman's. But it was snake-like. It had massive fangs that secreted glowing green venom. Naruto watched the drops hit the ground. When it hit a lizard it seemed to freeze up and stop moving, but the steady rise and fall of its chest showed that it was still alive. Naruto looked into its eyes to see a hypnotic green that seemed to draw him in, calling for him to answer it. Naruto quickly shook it off as the snake woman thing began to chuckle. "Hello Naruto, my master demands your death and he will have it." Naruto had to jump out of the way as the snake attacked him. He pulled out a few paper bombs and threw them at the snake as it connected to her sides. She screamed as the bombs burned into her flesh. She hissed at him as she launched another attack at him. "Die, boy." Naruto reached into his ninja pouch, praying he had something to help him out. He unfortunately found that he had nothing in there to help him. So this is it? Naruto closed his eyes. He was cornered. He had no weapons and he had no way to defend himself. He waited for the giant creature to close its mouth on him, but he snapped his eyes open when he heard her scream. He looked to see that the creature had been attacked by what looked like a large worm that had just tunneled out of the ground. It had no eyes, and it had a circular mouth that had thousands of teeth in it. The giant snake creature screamed again. "Wretched worms, do you know who I am? I am Medusa. A pathetic leech Yuki will never kill me." Medusa was about to bite down on the leeches when a black tendril buried itself in her head. Medusa shot her eye over to where the tendril came from, to find a massive leech demon with a white no mask with the kanji for 0 on it. "No, but I can." The leech demon began to convulse, and then shot out hundreds of tendrils that sharpened and went straight for Medusa. "Goodbye Medusa, I hope you rot in hell forever." The tendrils buried themselves in Medusa, stabbing every part of her body, leaving no possibility for her to live. The leeches let go of Medusa and then returned to the swamp, while the masked leech pulled back its tendrils before it vanished into black mist, revealing Amaru. Amaru saw that Naruto was shocked by her appearance. "How are you, brother?" She got no response. "Brother." She jumped down and noticed a glazed look in his eyes. He must be talking to Kyubi. Mindscape. Naruto was staring at the enraged Bijou in his body. Kyubi was demanding Naruto give him control over his body. Clearly he was not happy. "Naruto, damn it, give me control. This is my fight. And no others." Kyubi began leaking out a massive amount of chakra that engulfed the blonde. Naruto began convulsing and screaming in pain. "I will have my revenge, Yamato no Orochi." Outside of Mindscape, Amaru was blown back by a raw output of Kyubi's chakra. She slammed into a tree, but her fall was broken by a leech Yuki that came out of the swamp. She watched in fascination as Naruto's skin began to peel off of his body and then burst into black ashes. His spine began to crack as a bunch of tails emerged. Naruto's screams turned into demonic howls as his face became a snout. Finally a shockwave of chakra rushed over the swamp, setting it ablaze with burning fire. Standing where Naruto was an 8-tailed kitsune, but it had no fur and one could make out the skeletal structure from the tight skin. Amaru began to quiver as Naruto no Kyubi took control and ran into the forest. She quickly righted herself and ran after him, praying things would not get out of hand. Back with Han, Rashi and Team 7. Han had gone up to 3 tails worth of power, while Rashi was up to 2. They were attacking Orochimaru with all they had. Sasuke and Sakura were lying on a branch away from the fight. Orochimaru was delivering strikes to the Jinchuriki that sent them to the ground. Rashi snarled at Orochimaru, confused as to how he could possibly be matching them. "How he is not a Jinchuriki, but what is that scent? It's so familiar." Rashi had to jump out of the way as the now freed Stentos was about to swallow him. She smiled at her prey and shot forwards, intending to end the Jinchuriki. Rashi readied a blast of lava, but he stopped when he felt a massive killing intent that also stopped Stentos. Rashi and Stentos turned their heads and were terrified at the sight. Standing on a branch, burning it to ash, was Naruto in the Hachibi stage. His teeth were leaking massive amounts of spit, and his claws looked like knives. Naruto snapped his head at Orochimaru, who began to chuckle, and then he went into full-blown laughter. "So the Kyubi Jinchuriki has the power of a Hachibi. Let's see how you'll fare against me, my old rival." Rashi and Han were confused. What the hell did he mean by old rival? Naruto or Kyubi snarled at Orochimaru. "You will pay for your past transgressions, Yamato no Orochi." Kyubi launched himself at Orochimaru and delivered a crushing blow to the branch he was on. Kyubi had to dodge to the side when Orochimaru delivered a crushing kick to where Kyubi was standing. "So you know who I am?" "Not surprising, especially how our last meeting was. Do you remember that day, how I took everything from you, how I killed your mate and devoured your child? Oh, it was so delightful killing the Jubi, or is it Yurufu-chan?" Kyubi snarled at Orochimaru as he continued to chuckle. "I must thank you. After I devoured your child, my power increased far beyond what it was. But enough chit-chat, let us finish this, Kyubi." Orochimaru grabbed the top of his face and dug his nails under the skin. He then pulled his face clean off, but rather than gushing blood, 8 snake heads came rushing out. His body shriveled up and turned to ash as 8 massive tails wrapped around the trees. His body lengthened to massive proportions until standing at his full form was the Yamato no Orochi. Yamato no Orochi smiled as each head spoke. "Kyubi, it is time for you to die." The two bijou launched at each other as the spectators watched, unaware of the many eyes watching them fight. Chapter 4, Exam Battles Part 1. Disclaimer: I do not own Naruto or any objects related to it. Masashi Kishimoto does. Damn. Anyways, I hope that you are happy I updated. I will no longer be romising to update anything from now on. I will update when I feel like it, and if you have a problem with that, you can flame me. Kyubi launched a volley of chakra blasts at the great snake demon, only for the snake to weave around them. The main head launched at Kyubi. Kyubi caught the open mouth and grabbed the snake's tongue before ripping it clean out. Yamato no Orochi screamed in pain as the head that had the tongue ripped out snarled at him while another head spoke. "I'll fillet you for that." The heads then launched at Kyubi as he ducked and weaved in and out of the strikes. The heads quickly weaved back and bit down trying to hit Kyubi. Kyubi managed to run past the heads and managed to grab the tail of the beast. He grabbed it and pulled as hard as he could. Kyubi then used all of his strength and swung Yamato no Orochi into the trees. He slid through the trees until his body fell into a lake. Kyubi saw the mile-long trench the throw made and ran towards the lake, several eyes following his movement. In the bushes, teammate had just gotten a scroll when they felt a massive pressure of killing intent. They went to investigate, and saw a giant 8-headed snake and an 8-tailed fox that had no fur attack each other. Hinata was quivering as she used her Byakugan to see that the fox was Naruto. Team 7 and the 2 IWA Jinchuriki. Sasuke and Sakura were shocked at the ensuing battle. They were even more shocked when they saw Orochimaru become the Yamato no Orochi. Rashi and Han were trying to keep their bijous under control. They were having little success as both bijou wanted to kill the Yamato no Orochi. Team 10 and Team Guy. Team 10 had literally run into Guy's team. The two teams were about to duke it out when they felt a massive killing intent wash over them. Before they could even think, they had to jump out of the way of a massive snake barreling through the forest. They looked again to find a furless 8-tailed fox running down the same path. With some jounins, Anko had immediately run into the forest when the 3 dead faceless bodies turned up in the graveyard. Her friends Kurenai and Yugao followed her, as well as Kakashi, Asuma, Guy, and Hate. When they finally found Orochimaru, they were about to launch their strongest attacks to kill him, but they stopped when they saw the massive 8-tailed furless fox declare that Orochimaru was the Yamato no Orochi. When they saw the snake Sannin transform, they were terrified. Anko was scared stiff, and everyone else was too scared to move, but Anko grinned. When the fox literally threw Orochimaru, Yamato no Orochi, or whatever he was now, into a forest, and then finally into a lake, they decided to sit back and watch the show, and prayed that the snake Sannin would die. Back with Yamato no Orochi. Yamato no Orochi shook himself off as his body went underwater. He hissed and then began to swim up to the surface. When he finally breached the water, he had to swiftly veer to the right as a beam of pure red chakra was launched at him. He looked to see that Kyubi was releasing as much of his Yuki as his host could handle. Yamato no Orochi smirked, thinking that this could be an advantage. "So Kyubi, you want to kill me? Well, unless your host can endure all 9 tails of your power, that's not going to happen. I may have been the Hachibi, but my power is equal to yours. Now die." Yamato no Orochi opened all of his mouths as he began charging purple energy through his mouths. Kyubi saw this and then hunched down as he gripped the ground. He began charging up a mass of red energy as he readied his strike. The 2 demons then reared back as they mentally cried out their attacks. Hibi Hachikita, Kitsun Dorairu. The 2 fired out their attacks. Yamato no Orochi's strike tore through the air and sent shockwaves that knocked down the surrounding trees. Kyubi's strike tore through the earth and sent spiderweb cracks throughout the landscape. The 2 attacks collided, boom, and sent a massive shockwave that tore through the forest like a rhino through wet paper. All the teams had to duck and cover as the strikes knocked down most of the forest, taking down half the teams instantly. The teams that had been watching the fight were trembling. They had been the closest, and so they felt the demonic energy. It was massive. Yamato no Orochi was not kidding. His power had to have equaled Kyubi's, at least for the attack from Kyubi not to overcome his own. Hinata was trembling in fear. Was this really her Naruto-kun? Anko was frozen with fear until her cursed seals suddenly began acting up. Aggh Kakashi quickly ran over to her and tried to get her up, but he was frozen when another blast of killing intent washed over him. Kyubi ran at Yamato no Orochi as the great snake pulled himself out of the water. Die, snake bastard! Yamato no Orochi had no time to dodge Kyubi's attack and ended up getting slashed by one of his claws across his eyes. Aggh. Damn fox, that's it. I am going to kill you just like I killed your precious Yurufu-chan. He then reared his head back and widened his mouth as the fabled Kusanagi erupted from his mouth. The snake closed his jaw as the blade extended. Yamato no Orochi swung the sword at the shocked Kyubi. When Kyubi saw the sword, his mind wandered back to the day his love was murdered. Flashback. Kyubi was returning home from running several errands for his mate. She was in heat, but she needed to take care of their child. He had gone to the city to retrieve some lamb meat and a new batch of herbs. The two had grown up together, and after she claimed the title of Jubi and he gained the title of Kyubi, the two married. After 9 months of waiting, they had a beautiful cub to call their own. Kyubi turned the corner to the grove that he and his mate lived in when he smelled snake. He quickly looked around as he continued sniffing around. He found the scent to see that it continued down the path towards their home. O Kami-sama no Kyubi quickly ran towards the field that had their home. He looked to find that the field had been trampled by a serpentine creature, but not just any snake. Kyubi was horrified. He quickly ran towards the home. He was about to enter the home when he heard a scream of pain. He willed himself to run faster. Once he reached the door, he opened it to be greeted with the most mortifying sight he had ever seen. Standing in the room was the Yamato no Orochi in all his human glory, holding his child by his tail. His cub was squealing in pain as Yamato no Orochi turned his head towards Kyubi, a sadistic smirk on his face. "Hey, Kyubi, it's been so long, hasn't it? I see you haven't aged a day. I, however, do not have that luxury anymore. Not since your mate ripped my orb of immortality from my chest and then crushed it beneath her paw. Had she not done that, I would have defeated the rest of your pitiful resistance." Yamato no Orochi smirked as he looked at the squealing wolf's kit. "But I found another way to become immortal." Kyubi snarled at Yamato no Orochi. "Release my child, you snake!" He jumped at the fallen Hachibi but stopped in midair when he saw that he had his sword poised at his mate's heart. "Ah, I see you are still soft." Yamato no Orochi sighed as he shook his head. "How particularly mortal of you." Yamato no Orochi turned his gaze towards Kyubi. "You were weakened before you started." A sadistic gleam crossed his features. "By compassion." Yamato no Orochi drove the Kusanagi into Yurufu's heart and ripped it from her side. "No!" Kyubi launched himself at Yamato no Orochi but was batted aside by the snake demon and flung into a wall. "How the mighty have fallen!" Now he turned towards the cub in his hands. "Oh, that's right, devouring your child, ha 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 ha." Yamato no Orochi's head changed into that of a snake and bit down, swallowing the cub whole. Kyubi watched in horror as his child was devoured. "Yamato no Orochi, you bastard!" Kyubi charged at Yamato no Orochi, but a sudden influx of Yuki slammed him into the wall. The last thing he saw was Yamato no Orochi changing right before his eyes. Before darkness claimed him, Kyubi groggily awoke to a smoking ruin. He snapped his eyes open when he remembered what happened. He used his strength to remove the burning debris from his body. He quickly looked around. He began to radiate killing intent. His home, his territory, it was burned right down to the soil. Nothing could ever grow here again. Kyubi was about to head after Yamato no Orochi when he saw a limp form in the debris. He quickly ran over to find his mate, just barely breathing. "Yurufu-chan, my love, I am so sorry." He began to sob into his mate's form when she opened her eyes. "Kitsuku-in, you have nothing to be sorry for." Kyubi snapped his head up when he heard his wife speak. "Yurufu-chan, please don't leave me." The wolf demoness smiled as she grabbed her necklace before she quickly ripped it off. She placed it to Kyubi's hand and squeezed it shut. "Goodbye, my dear Kitsunji." Her body went limp as her last breath left her lips. Kitsunji tried to revive her. "Yurufu-chan, Yurufu-chan, Yurufu-chan." He screamed to the heavens as he sobbed into his wife's dead form. Not even a moment later he released such a massive amount of Yuki that it sent a shockwave throughout the valley. Kitsunji reared his head back as he yelled to the heavens, "Yamato no Orochi, I loved her, and you took her from me." Kitsunji sliced his hand with the necklace his mate gave him. "Today I make a new vow. I will spend the rest of my life hunting you down." Kitsunji's proclamation was heard throughout his territory. The kitsune fled in fear of the angry kitsune and pitted anyone that got in his way. End flashback. Kitsunji snarled as he remembered his promise. It was the only promise he made to anyone except for his wife, his dear Yurufu-chan, and it was a promise he would see accomplished. Die. Yamato no Orochi was about to drive the sword into Kyubi's heart clang, but his eyes widened when he saw Kyubi stop the sword with his bare hands. Yamato no Orochi was about to try and strike again when Kyubi lashed one of his tails out and slashed him across another one of his eyes. Each Kyubi grabbed the blade as tight as he could and threw the snake Yuki into the forest. He slid through the forest, creating another massive trench. The ones who were watching the fight saw the incoming snake demon and fled. Incoming, everyone scattered as quickly as they could, but Team 8 was not quite as lucky. Kiba and Shino were avoiding the incoming debris, but Hinata fell behind as a tree branch came towards them. Shino and Kiba were knocked unconscious, but Hinata was pinned under the tree right next to where the Yamato no Orochi landed. Yamato no Orochi ripped his way out of the trees and hissed at the fox. "You will pay for that fox shit AGGH." He launched his primary head at Kyubi with his jaws wide and venom dripping. If Kyubi got even an ounce of that venom in his system while he was sealed, he would be severely ill or die. Kyubi saw the incoming attack and grabbed the snake's jaws before they could clamp down on him. Yamato no Orochi snarled as all of his other heads were pinned too much to offer him any assistance, but his eyes widened when one of his heads caught sight of a pin down. Hyuga, he smiled in satisfaction. She is clearly an innocent soul, pure and just. I can see it in her eyes. If I eat her, I will grow even stronger. He wasted no time as the closest head finally freed itself from the rubble and launched at Hinata, who finally saw the snake. Her eyes widened in terror as the snake's fangs dripped their poison. "I am going to die." She closed her eyes and awaited her fate. Kyubi caught sight of this, but he was so enamored with killing Yamato no Orochi that he didn't care if she died, so long as he took down Yamato no Orochi. He was about to charge up a strong ball when he felt a pressure bearing down on his mind, and heard the voice of his container. Hinata-chan. Kyubi's eyes widened as Naruto began struggling to take back control. Mindscape. The gates that held Kyubi opened and began pulling in Kyubi with a massive wind. Kyubi was clawing at the ground while screaming in rage. "Naruto, damn it, what are you doing? I have to kill that demon now." Naruto walked out of the corner where he was standing and glared at the Kyubi. "I have to save Hinata and there is nothing you can do to stop me." He turned around as Kyubi was pulled fully into his cage as the gates closed, screaming for revenge. Back outside, Naruto gains control of Kyubi and stops powering up a strong ball. He notices how close the fangs are to him, and he basically throws the primary head to the side and then runs to stop the other head from killing Hinata. Hinata watches as the head is about to close down on her, and then closes her eyes as a single thought goes through her head. "I didn't even get to tell Naruto-kun how I feel." She waits for the inevitable as she hears the sound of piercing flesh, but she felt no pain. She quickly opens her eyes to find the fangs not even an inch away from her. She was confused, but she was shocked out of her stupor when she saw the blood flowing down the massive fangs. She slowly looks up and is shocked to see Naruto still in his eight-tailed state, but replacing the red eyes was the usual cerulean blue she loved so much. Naruto flinched in pain and then screamed in agony as Yamato no Orochi ripped his fangs from the Jinchuriki turned demon as he went back to being the same old Naruto. Yamato no Orochi began twisting in pain as his body shattered like glass, and in the place of where his body was pinned was the snake Sannin Orochimaru. Orochimaru cringed in pain as he pulled himself from the rubble. "So you still live no matter. My venom will kill you soon enough." Jinchuriki of Kitsunji. He had a wicked smile as he turned his head towards the direction he sent Sasuke and Sakura thanks to the curse marks on their body. "But first I must acquire my new test subjects." Orochimaru walked off as Hinata finally freed herself from the tree that was pinning her and ran over to the poisoned and bleeding Naruto. "Naruto-kun, please don't die, please, I love you." Naruto did not make any sign of movement except for the steady fall and rise of his chest, which was quickly becoming erratic. She rummaged through her pouch and pulled out a medicinal cream she had been working on. "Kami, please let this work." She pulled out as much of the cream as she could and began coating Naruto's open wound. She saw some of the cream begin to eat away at the leftover poison, so there was the chance that it was working, but Naruto's wound did not heal in the slightest. She began running through what medical jutsu she knew and tried to heal his wound. Orochimaru had since found Sasuke and Sakura. Sakura was barely standing while Sasuke was still in pain from the curse mark. He smiled at how easy this was going to be. "Looks like Sasuke can't stand the curse mark as easily as you can, wench." Sakura ran at Orochimaru with a kunai, but Orochimaru simply grabbed her shirt and threw her to the ground, ripping off almost all of her upper clothing, revealing her upper body, and the curse mark as well. The curse mark has a 1 in 10 chance of survival, and if you do survive it, you will be unconscious for a few days before you are even capable of even activating it. Yet not only do you survive it, you also manage to activate and use its power not even a minute after application. He grabbed Sakura by the throat. "The question is why? Why is it that someone so pathetic, one who shows no qualities of a bloodline, demon blood, or any other great qualities besides an extremely low chakra pool, can survive such a mark?" Orochimaru pulled out a syringe. "I guess I will just have to study you to find out." Just as he was about to plunge the syringe into Sakura's body, a kunai plunged into his arm. He looked up to find Anko glaring at him. He smiled in anticipation as he saw his dear apprentice. "Ah, Anko-chan, I see your aim has gotten better." He threw Sakura to the ground as he pulled the kunai out of his arm. He then ran up the tree at Anko as he drew a kunai at his old apprentice. But what about your knife skills? Anko blocked an incoming strike from the snake's Sannin/fallen Hachibi, as he began using his snake jutsu to gain the upper hand. Damn snake shit, I will kill you for what you have done to me. She threw a kunai with an explosive note on it as she sent a volley of snakes at Orochimaru. He quickly held up a hand sign as the snakes quickly stopped their assault. They then turned their attention to Anko and attacked. She was about to dispel them, but they wrapped around her and kept her from performing a single hand sign. Kukukuku. I don't think so, Anko-chan. I am the Lord of Snakes, no matter if I am a bijou or not. The snake clan serves me. Anko struggled as she cursed Orochimaru. Damn fucking snake shit, I am going to kill you, you piece of shit. Orochimaru chuckled and then went into roaring laughter. Ha 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 ha, how humorous. Orochimaru reached for Anko, causing her to flinch. Are you going to kill me? If so, just do it, you fucking shit. Orochimaru began to chuckle again. Oh Anko, what makes you think that I would kill you, my own daughter? A look of horror crossed Anko's features as Orochimaru's statement met her ears. What, you're lying, you're lying. Orochimaru began to chuckle as he stroked Anko's cheek. Now Anko, what could I possibly gain from lying to you, my dear daughter? Orochimaru walked back over to Sakura and plunged the syringe in her stomach. Your interference cost me a potential test subject, but I guess her blood will do just fine. Oh, don't worry, Anko. I won't kill her. What point would there be in killing a potential host? Orochimaru threw Sakura to the ground as he performed a set of hand seals. His body caught flame as he disappeared. Goodbye, my daughter. He disappeared along with the vial in his hands, leaving Anko in shock. Anko was wide-eyed. Her sensei was her father. If that was the case, then why was she alone? Her mother had banished her from the Mitarashi clan when she returned from being kidnapped from Sea Country, all because she had the curse mark mother. She hated that woman above all other people. She was banished from the clan because of something she had no say in. Anko began to weep. She had always wondered who her father was, and now that she knew, she wanted to die. Her mother had forsaken her, and her father was the cause of it. She wept as the other jounin surrounded her. Kurenai ran to her longtime friend and tried to comfort her. Sure, shhh, it's alright, Anko-chan, it's alright. Meanwhile, across the clearing, Hinata was weeping for Naruto, who was slowly dying from Yamato no Orochi's poison. She had flooded the wound with healing chakra, but since the wound was made from demonic energies, it was too damn hard to heal for human medical techniques. No please, Kami-sama, no. Hinata had exhausted herself of all her medical techniques. She had so little chakra left that it hurt to try and use more. She was about to try another medical technique when her hand was grabbed. She looked up to find Amaru grabbing her hands. You do one more medical technique, you will die. She let go of Hinata's arm and pulled out a medical bag. She began rummaging through it and pulled out various creams that emanated a weird aura. I have to say, I am impressed. Not many humans that have had no contact with a demon can claim to have made a cream that can quell a demon's poison, much less a Bijou class demon. She pulled out a glowing cream that she smoothed over Naruto's open wound. It began to sizzle and fizz, and then finally the wound began to repair itself. The bones began to regrow as the flesh began to grow back in the wound until finally the wound closed up. Amaru sighed as she rummaged through her bag. She smiled when she found what she was looking for. She pulled out a vial of extremely small black balls that looked like soldier pills. She opened the vial and gave one to Hinata. Here, it will replenish your chakra and eliminate any poison that may have gotten into your system. You may not have been bitten by that damn snake, but you were in the proximity of the venom. You may have breathed in some of the airborne toxins. Hinata took the pill and quickly bit down on it. She immediately felt her chakra replenish as well as her wounds heal up. She cringed when she felt her wounds heal as they felt like white-hot fire. Amaru smiled at Hinata and began to lift up Naruto. We better find yours and his teammates soon. We still have 4 days to get to the tower. Oh, she reached back into her pouch and pulled out 2 heaven scrolls and 2 earth scrolls. I pilfered these from a few dead teams on the way, Naruto, and that snake's fight did a lot more damage than I thought. Hinata looked around and realized how destroyed the forest was. The two had only fought for a total of 2 or 3 minutes, and they already did this much damage. Over half the forest was destroyed. Amaru carried Naruto over to his teammates, who were being surrounded by jounin. Hinata walked over to the now conscious Shino and Kiba. Hinata began applying ointment to Kiba's large gash. Shino was using the ointment to get his chest. Gee, thanks, Hinata, I don't know what we would do without you. Kiba smiled as Hinata blushed at the praise. She turned around to see Naruto helping Sakura up to her feet, and her mood dropped. Kiba saw this and sighed. Hinata, you either have to tell him how you feel or move on, because he isn't going to wait forever. Hinata looked down at the ground at Kiba's statement. I know, but what if he rejects me? Hinata began to cry a little bit. She had confessed to Naruto, but he was so close to death he probably didn't hear it. Kiba sighed as he looked at his old friend. He prayed that she fesses up soon, cause at some point Naruto would find someone else, and he couldn't bear to see his surrogate sister cry. Kiba looked at Naruto. Where the hell did he come from? The last thing he remembered was a massive 8-headed snake and an 8-tailed fox fighting, but where did the two things go? He decided to figure this out later as him and his team took the scrolls and headed off to the tower. Naruto was helping Sakura to her feet when he noticed that she had lost most of her shirt. He blushed and quickly turned away. He may no longer have a crush on the Banshee, but he was still a guy. A nearby Jounin produced a cloak that she could wear until she got some actual clothes. The team was about to set off when a Jounin placed the point of his katana at Naruto's throat. What happened here, demon? Naruto glared at the man as Amaru knocked the sword out of the way. Back off, he is no more a demon as a scroll is the kunai it is sealed in. The Jounin sneered at Amaru as he pointed the katana back at Naruto. You dare defend the Kyuubi, I should kill you where you stand, demon lover. The Jounin raised his katana to cut her down, but he was stopped by another katana entering his back and cutting through his heart. The man had enough energy left in him to look behind him to see Gecko Hate with a severe glare. You broke the law, Genji. Sorry, my old friend. Hate cut Genji in half as Sakura and Sasuke trembled in fear while Naruto merely looked sick. Amaru only sighed as she handed Naruto a heaven and earth scroll. Team 7 got cleaned up and set off for the tower while the Jounin searched the forest for the snake Sannin/fallen Hachibi. 5 days later, the teams that passed the finals had all gathered in the exam room. At first the Hokage was planning to cancel the exams, but with Orochimaru's threat to destroy the village they had no choice but to agree to continue the exams. The only remaining teams were Team 7, 8, 10, that veteran Genin team, Kabuto's team, the Kumo team, the IWA team, Amaru, the team from Kiri, the Takigakure team, as well as the Suna and Sound teams. Anko was shocked with how many made it out of the forest, especially with the Bija battle in the middle of it. The Hokage stepped forwards. Alright, the board will show the contestants. If anyone wishes to drop out, now would be the time. At the Hokage's statement, most of the competition dropped out. The only people who didn't drop out were Team 7, Team 8, the veteran Genin team, Kabuto's teammates, and all the Jinchuriki as well as the Sound team. Hate jumped to the floor as the board began running through the names. Once the board stopped, it revealed the first two competitors. Tsuchi-kin Amaru. Amaru smiled as Kin gained a sadistic grin on her face. The two kunoichi got to the floor as Hate called the match. The match between Tsuchi-kin and Amaru. Hajime-kin immediately ran at Amaru and threw a bunch of saban with bells on them. Amaru pulled out her scalpel and blocked each bell while simultaneously cutting them in half. Kin snarled as she ripped out a kunai and threw it at Amaru. Said kunoichi expertly caught the projectile before it could even reach her and threw it back. Kin did a back flip as she caught the knife and was about to attack, but when she looked up she saw a foot careening with her face. Ah shit! Kin was kicked right in the face and slammed right into the wall while being knocked unconscious. Hate ran over to the kunoichi and checked her over. She was unconscious and would not be up for a while. Hate stood up and turned towards the audience. The winner of match 1 Amaru. The Jinchuriki clapped as Amaru walked up the stairs. Hate returned to the stands and waited for the board to select the next match. The board ran through the names until it landed on the next two opponents. Yujito Tenten said. Kunoichi jumped into the arena as Yujito pulled out a set of clawed gloves while Tenten produced a few scrolls. The two kunoichi faced each other with Tenten giving an arrogant grin while Yujito stood there calmly. The match between Yujito and Tenten Hajime. Tenten quickly unrolled her scrolls and produced over a dozen different weapons. She grabbed two throwing scythes and threw them at Yujito, and then grabbed a couple kunai with them. She threw them to follow up the scythes and then ran at Yujito with a whip chain. Yujito quickly sliced at the scythes, destroying the blades. She then cut the kunais directly down the middle. At the last minute she stopped the incoming whip chain that Tenten had swung at her. She tightened her grip and pulled on the chain. Yujito smirked in satisfaction and then suddenly let off a bit of slack and then used as much force as she could to tug on the whip chain. Tenten lost her footing and ended up being swung through the air. She quickly righted herself and let her feet go first as she nearly hit the wall. Crack! She cringed as she felt her leg break and she had to release the chain she was using. Yujito quickly pulled back and grabbed the chain's handle and began inspecting it. A remarkable piece of equipment, perfectly clean. No dents, no fingerprints, a mockery of a weapon. She used her claws and slashed the chain to pieces. A weapon must be in good condition, yes, but a weapon is useless unless its user can work it, and by the looks of your weapons you spend more time cleaning them than practicing with them. Tenten snarled at Yujito. What do you know? I doubt a little Kumo bitch would know anything about our village, or how we weapon masters pride ourselves in our weapons. Tenten reached into her pocket and pulled out an embroidered scroll. Let me show you how we of Konoha outclass you Kumo scum. She ran her blood across a set of seals and a massive puff of smoke appeared. When it cleared, an elegant yet bulky sword was in Tenten's hands. The blade was curved, but it had a wide blade. It looked as if it had seen many battles, but it also looked like it was extremely well cared for. There wasn't a speck of dust on it. In fact, it looked like it hasn't seen daylight in years. Yujito scoffed at the sight of the blade. I admit the blade is impressive. It looks like it has seen many a battle, but judging by the looks of it, it probably hasn't seen daylight in over a year. Tenten snarled at Yujito and charged. Shut up, bitch. Before Tenten could make it 5 feet, she felt a painful strike to her stomach and heard a cracking sound. She looked down to see that she had been punched in the stomach. She looked to where she heard the cracking sound to find her sword cracked, nose shattered. She fell down as she looked at the fallen remains of her favorite sword destroyed. Yujito set her to the ground as she began to lecture her. A weapons mistress, you. That's a laugh. Only one who truly masters their weapons, only one who spends all their days studying, training, conditioning their body to use all weapons deserves that name. She walked over Tenten and intentionally stepped onto the only non-broken piece of the blade, the hilt. As she walked back up the steps, Tenten was carried off the arena as the next matchups were being displayed. Inuzuka Kiba Uzumaki Naruto. Kiba smiled in satisfaction as he began howling in delight. Huya Akamaru, looks like it's our lucky day, boy. The dog boy jumped into the arena as Naruto did the same. The two stared at each other as Hate called, the match between Uzumaki Naruto and Inuzuka Kiba Hajime. Chapter 5, Exam Battles Part 2. Disclaimer: I do not own Naruto or any of its products. Masahi Kishimoto does. Please check my homepage for my challenges. Enjoy this newest chapter. Kiba smirked at Naruto as he got into his family taijutsu stance. He looked at Akamaru and said, "Stay out, boy, this fight will be over in a few seconds." Naruto scoffed at Kiba's arrogance as he got into an unfamiliar stance. Arrogant, much dog food. Kiba snarled at the blonde. Those that heard Naruto's crack at his clan cracked up laughing. Even Kurenai couldn't help but snicker. Dog food. That's it. I was going to make this painless, but you asked for this. Kiba launched himself at Naruto and cocked his fist back. Naruto stood there and smirked. Kiba launched a punch as Naruto finally moved. He shot his own fist out and slammed it into Kiba's fist. Crack! The two cringed and jumped back from each other. Damn, that hurt. Kiba stared at Naruto. Sorry Hinata, but I ain't losing to this baka. Kiba got into a fighting position and charged at Naruto. Naruto avoided a few shots, but most of them connected. Kiba noticed this, but he was pissed that Naruto showed no signs of fatigue. Naruto finally got a few hits in. He managed to get Kiba in the chest, the leg, and he managed to get his back. Kiba tumbled a few feet and then quickly righted himself. He glared at the blonde and spat out a bit of blood. Damn it, Akamaru, you're up. Akamaru growled and ran at the blonde. Naruto was not expecting the dog to jump so high. He was not expecting the dog to have such sharp teeth, and he was not expecting the dog to clamp on his arm. OUCH. Get this stupid fucking mud off me now. Get it off, get it off, get it off, damn it. Naruto tried ripping Akamaru off, but it only seemed to get him to clamp on even more. Naruto looked up and found Kiba's fist careening with his face. He was thrown back into the wall as a bunch of spiderweb cracks ran through it. Call the match, Proctor, he ain't getting up. Kiba smirked at his victory and was about to continue walking up, that is, until he felt a massive amount of pain in his side. He fell over as he felt something bury itself into his stomach. He slammed into the wall and opened his eyes to see Naruto coming at him with a fist ready to slam into him. Kiba quickly moved out of the way, but not before Naruto threw a kunai at the direction he was going, forcing him back into the same spot as Naruto came in with his fist. Kiba waited until Naruto was close enough and grabbed Naruto's arm. Naruto's eyes widened as he was slammed into the wall. Kiba then followed up by jumping back and then running at the blonde. Eat this. And then punching square in the ribs. Naruto coughed up a bit of blood, but he snapped his head at Kiba and then with his best acrobatics he slammed the bottom of his foot into his chin, and then followed it up with another kick to the chest. Eat that. Kiba flipped over his back, smashed his face into the ground, and continued rolling until he began sliding and then slammed into the wall, knocking himself out. Hate jumped down to Kiba's unconscious form and checked his pulse. Hate sighed and got up, winner by knockout Uzumaki Naruto. Everyone who knew the blonde was shocked beyond comparison. Kiba was second best in taijutsu in the academy, and Naruto was the dead last. How the hell did he beat him? Kurenai was shocked beyond all comprehension. She had been training Kiba for the last 6 months. She never expected Naruto to beat Kiba. She turned towards Kakashi. Kakashi, what the hell have you been teaching him? Kakashi was just as shocked as Kurenai. He had not taught Naruto any of those moves. Hell, he had not taught the blonde anything beyond tree climbing. He had deliberately done that. As far as he was concerned, the only reason he had taken up a team was to be Sasuke's sensei. He felt he owed it to Obito, and if it meant his other 2 students fell from grace, he did not care. Actually, Kurenai, I did not teach him any of that. Why would I teach him when he shows no capability as a shinobi? Kakashi returned to his book as Kurenai snapped her head towards Kakashi. No ability as a shinobi? Is he crazy? Naruto may have been the dead last, but he managed to break into the Hokage tower without anyone noticing. Kurenai went back to looking at the blonde. But if Kakashi did not train him, why is he so strong? Rashi and Han were impressed with the performance. They had not expected such acrobatic moves from the blonde. Rashi turned to see that their last teammate was thinking intently. Tsukurin, what's wrong? Tsukurin turned towards Rashi. Forgive me, my old friend, but something about him, he looks so familiar. Rashi turned to the blonde, wondering what his old friend meant. Naruto walked up the stairs as he passed by Hinata. Ano Naruto-kun. Naruto turned around and looked to find Hinata twiddling with a jar of ointment. Ya Hinata? Hinata nervously swallowed and shoved the ointment in front of her in Naruto's direction. Hinata, what is it? Hinata stuttered out. It's ointment and Naruto-kun. Naruto looked at the ointment, confused as to what he should do. Kurenai was smiling. Hinata, well, she had known about Hinata's crush on the blonde for years, but she often wondered why it was the blonde had never picked up on it. She looked at the confused blonde. Use it on your wounds, it will help. Naruto nervously took the ointment and applied some to the scratches he received on his face. The wounds sizzled as they closed up. Wow, Hinata, this works great. Man, have you ever considered medical jutsu? You would be great for it. Kurenai smiled. Hinata rarely ever got praise, and the fact that it came from her crush would surely boost her confidence. Hinata blushed at the praise and turned away from Naruto. Naruto-kun, it doesn't matter what or who you are, you will still be my Naruto-kun. She turned to watch as Naruto walked off. Everyone turned their attention to the board. Konoha was shocked by the outcome. Hyuga Hinata versus Hyuga Neji. Neji smirked as he sent a malicious glare towards Hinata, causing her to flinch. He then jumped down onto the arena. Hinata nervously walked down and got in front of Neji. Said Hyuga sneered at Hinata. Soon I will have my revenge. Hinata-sama. Neji's fists tightened as Hinata tried to keep herself from shaking. Hate got in between the two, the match between Hyuga Hinata and Hyuga Neji Hajime. Hate jumped out of the way. Nothing happened. Hinata was about to get into a Juken stance. Hinata-sama, she looked up. We both know that this fight is pointless. Withdraw. Hinata's eyes widened. Withdraw? Neji continued talking. We both know that fate has decreed that I win. You are just a lowly main branch member who has no talent whatsoever. You are destined to remain as you are, a pathetic, worthless failure, who will never extend past what she currently is. Neji smirked as he spoke again. You probably only entered this because you would feel guilty that you held your team back. Hinata snapped her head up. She was clearly nervous. No, I really wanted tea to change. Neji scoffed as he looked at Hinata. Tastes change, seasons change, but people never change. All you will ever amount to is the pathetic, insignificant, most pitiful disgrace of a Hyuga that has ever. Shut up! Everyone looked around to find that Naruto, Kurabi, Fu, Utakata, Han, Rashi, Yagura, Yajuto, Gaara, and Amaru were releasing a small amount of killing intent and were directing it at the Hyuga prodigy. Naruto spoke up. Hinata-chan, don't let that stuck-up ass tell you what you can and can't do. Kurabi rapped out, Yo Hinata girl, don't let him break you down, don't let him talk, just rock his world. Fu yelled out, yeah girl, show that arrogant prick what you're made of. Utakata spoke calmly but with clear aggression, pop his little closed bubble and take him down. Han roared, take that fucker down, bury his ass. Rashi calmly yet heatedly spoke, burn his pride painfully. Yagura snarled, crush that arrogant little prick. Yajuto hissed at them, make him wish he hadn't fought you. Gaara, make him wish it was mother fighting him. Kankuro and Temari were shocked. Gaara was cheering someone up. Amaru, and remember girl. All the Jinchuriki yelled out, kick his ass. Everyone was looking at the Jinchuriki. Why were they cheering for her? Only one of them was even in the same village as her. Neji scoffed at the group's cheering. Please, as if this pathetic main branch scum could ever beat me. It has been decided by fate that she will OPH. Neji was knocked down when he felt a strong crash against his chest. He tumbled back before he righted himself. He clutched his chest as he looked up. Hinata had gotten inside his guard and delivered a blow to him. Impossible. Neji got up in a Juken stance. If Hinata had charged chakra into that kick, he would have been down for sure. He charged at the heiress, who quickly activated her Byakugan. She used her knife strike to redirect Neji's Juken and sent an open palm at Neji. He jumped back and then ran again and sent a strike to her arm. She cringed as she spun out of the way of another strike. Neji ran at her. Hack Rokujian Sho. Neji sent 2 strikes at Hinata, 2 palms. He sent another 2 strikes that Hinata barely avoided. 4 palms he turned and sent another set at her back. 8 palms she jumped away to avoid 3 of the strikes. She stumbled as Neji came forwards with another set. 16 palms she could not avoid any of them. 32 palms Hinata was on her last legs as Neji came forwards with the final strikes. 64 palms Hinata was shot across the field where she collapsed. Neji turned to the proctor. She won't be getting up. He turned to walk away. Wait, he turned to see that Hinata was standing up, severely irking him. Why do you continue to try? You will only cause yourself more suffering. Hinata coughed up a bit of blood. No, Neji, it is you who are suffering. Nisan. Neji snarled at Hinata and ripped out a kunai. He ran at her faster than anyone could believe. The Jounin had one thought going through their heads. Have to stop him. They were about to move when they felt a massive influx of chakra. Neji was about to plunge the kunai into Hinata's chest, Shinklang, but he stopped when he saw a sight that actually scared him. All 10 of the Jinchuriki were surrounding Neji, keeping him from moving another inch. So even shinobi from other countries pamper the heiress of the main branch. Neji shut up when he felt Amaru tighten her grip on his throat. It's people like you that give shinobi a bad name. Neji smirked at Amaru. Oh really? He used chakra and shot the kunai out of his hands, plunging it in Hinata's chest. Cause I think I am a perfect example of a shinobi. They let go of him and ran over to Hinata, who was now hyperventilating. Amaru looked her over. Shit, she dug into her pouch and pulled out 3 metal straws. That strike had an underlying chakra pulse in it. It crushed her lungs. Kurenai ran over as she saw Amaru about to shove the tubes in Hinata's chest. Get your hands off her. Kurenai was held back by Han and Karabi as Amaru placed each tube in. Hinata's breathing began to stabilize. Amaru looked up. Well, get the damn medics. My techniques only work so far. She needs expert medical care now. The medics came pouring out of the doorway. They quickly grabbed the injured Hyuga and ran her off, saying things along the lines of blood transfusion and surgery. Neji scoffed as he spoke. Hey you dope. Naruto snapped his head at Neji. A word of advice: stop that irritating cheering. Once a failure, always a failure. Neji turned to leave but was shocked when he found the blonde in front of him. He had no time to react. As he wrapped his hand around his throat, he looked at Naruto. His eyes had become red and slitted like a fox. Pray. Neji was confused. Pray, Neji, pray to whatever god you worship that I don't face you in the finals. His eyes glowed with an ominous red aura. Because if I do, you will die. Naruto threw Neji to the ground as he and the Jinchuriki walked back up to the stands, and for the first time in a long time he was afraid. Everyone watched with barely held shock at what happened. Several individuals from various countries had protected someone of another village, but why? Naruto slumped against the wall as he watched Neji walk up the steps. You will pay for what you did, Neji. He clenched his fists, dripping blood. Count on it. The board began spinning through names until it finally landed on the next matches. Aburaim Shino vs Yoroi Akato. Naruto looked on just to see the outcome. The fight went by with the 2 of them stealing each other's chakra. The match went on for 10 minutes, before they both dropped from physical exhaustion. The match was declared a tie as everyone looked up to see who would fight next. Han vs Tsurugi Misumi. The 2 competitors shined to the field and got into their stances. Hate got in between them. The match between Han and Tsurugi Misumi. Hajime. He jumped out of the way as Han began performing hand signs. Jukaten. Kiri no Iwa. A large amount of steam came out of his furnace that was attached to his back, and it suddenly swept over the arena. Misumi jumped away as he saw the steam coming. Ha 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 ha. A bit of steam isn't going to save you, Nen no Kaizo. He shot his arms out, and they extended to a great length into the steam. OUCH, but he pulled them back when he felt how hot the steam was. Damn it, my arms are too soft. Using Nen no Kaizo, I have to think of something if I am going to win this. He dug into his pouch and smirked underneath his mask. You like it hot, huh? Well, try this. He threw a set of 3 kunai attached together and threw them into the steam. Boom! The steam immediately dispersed as an explosion went through it. Han skidded out of the other side of the steam cloud as an explosion chased after him. Misumi jumped on the wall and used chakra to stick to it as he ran at Han. He shot his limbs out as he twisted in the air. His body became a living soft drill, but at the speed he was spinning it might actually kill him. Han went through another set of hand seals. Jukaten. Jukikatsu. He quickly turned around and bent backwards as the steam shot at Misumi. Aagghhh. The scalding heat burned his flesh. He tumbled down as Han delivered a crushing strike to the genin. Of crunch. Han jumped back as he turned to the proctor. Get him some medics. I am not sure how much damage he received, but I won't take any risks. Hate coughed as he spoke. The winner. Han. The medics came out and immediately brought a stretcher to carry out Misumi. Han walked back up to his team as the next opponents were revealed. Rashi vs Sabaku no Tamari. Tamari smirked as she rode her fan down to the arena while Rashi flipped off the edge and then flipped towards his position. Hate looked at the 2. The match between Sabaka no Temari and Rashi Hajime. The two stood still. Temari grew irritated quickly. Well, aren't you going to attack me? Rashi quirked an eyebrow. Shouldn't the lady be allowed to strike first? Temari grew a forehead twitch as she screamed. You bastard, do you honestly think I need the first strike to take you down? I'll take you down in one strike, you bastard. She quickly flipped out her fan and swung it, sending violent wings at Rashi. Rashi stood there and closed his eyes. When the wind was barely a foot away from him, he snapped them open. Yotan. High Cade. He slammed his hands on the ground and a wall of lava suddenly sprung up and stopped the wind. Temari's eyes widened as he began rotating his arms. Yotan Tsunami. He shoved his hands forward as his wall of lava suddenly became a tsunami. Temari used her fan and flew out of the way, but the lava caught her fan and it started to burn. She got distracted and lost her focus, making her fall onto the ground. She looked up and watched as the tsunami came at her. She closed her eyes. Her eyes shot open when she heard that voice. She was suddenly surrounded by sand. The sand quickly turned to glass. The glass shattered after a minute, and she was quickly pulled out of the orb made by the glass by an arm of sand. She looked to see that Gaara was speaking to Rashi. Please, I would appreciate it if you did not attempt to harm my sister, brother. She was shocked. Did Gaara just call her sister? I am sorry, brother, I meant her no harm. The two continued to converse while Temari was shocked by Gaara's change in behavior. What is going on? Is this really my baby brother? What happened to him? She pondered this the whole way up to her team. Kankuro saw this and questioned her. Hey Nei-chan, what's wrong? She snapped up to attention. Nothing at all. Everyone looked up at the board and waited for the next contestants to be shown. Finally, the flickering stopped, revealing the next two names. Kirabi jumped in the air and whooped, all right. Meanwhile, Kankuro was sweating bullets as he looked at the board. Oh shit. Kirabi versus Sabaka no Kankuro. Kirabi continued to whoop in joy. Oh yeah, the Kirabi is ready to. Proctor, I forfeit. Everyone stared at Kankuro, who had his hand raised and was clearly scared for his life. Kirabi looked at him and shouted, what the hell? Come on, why are you quitting? Kankuro simply stared blankly at the proctor. I forfeit. Please move on to the next match. The proctor sighed and nodded. All right. Hade coughed slightly and waved to the stands to get the board running again. Meanwhile, Kirabi was growling, twitching as he clenched his fingers around the bars of the stands, glaring at Kankuro. I can't believe it. Here I am, ready for a fight, and that little punk chicken's out like AUCH. Kirabi was silenced when Fu suddenly punched him in his kidneys with an annoyed look on her face, before she returned back to viewing the fights. Everyone turned their attention back to the board, and it began to cycle through the remaining names. Fu leaned over the rail with a smirk as she saw her name flicker. With only a few contestants left, her chances of going up significantly increased, and she was itching for the chance to fight. Gaara watched the board impassively, but inside, he was also eager to fight his next opponent. Yagura was simply leaning against his staff, blinking each time his name passed. Finally, the board stopped, revealing the next set of names. Yahoo! Damn it! Sabaka no Gaara vs. Rock Lee. Rock Lee was leaping for joy in the air, while Fu had her forehead against the metal railing after their little outbursts. Yes, at last I, Rock Lee, shall have my chance to fight. Guy was grinning as he placed his hand on Lee's shoulder. Congratulations, Lee. Now get out there and show them what you are made of. Lee began to tear up, Guy-sensei. And hugged Guy. Guy began to tear up as well and hugged Lee back. Lee, Guy-sensei, Lee, Guy-sensei, Lee, thwack. Both were bashed over the head by an irate Fu, who was foaming at the mouth. Would you two knock it off and get in the arena? She grabbed Lee by the scruff of his neck and threw him into the arena and face first into the ground floor. Guy simply stared in shock, looking between Fu and Lee. He was about to say something, only for Fu to point at him and snap, shut up. Yagura sighed heavily and spoke up, sister, you need to control your temper. Fu snorted, crossing her arms and spoke with annoyance, eat me. Meanwhile, Lee pushed himself up, nursing the bruise on his head, Itai. And he looked upwards. He saw Gaara standing a few feet from him, an impassive look on his face. Well, are you going to fight, or lay there? Lee frowned, and snapped to attention. Hade looked between the two, and sighed. The next match between Rock Lee and Sabaka no Gaara Hajime. Hade got out of the way at that point. A smart move on his part. Rock Lee did not waste a second, and shot towards Gaara, swinging his right leg in a sweeping roundhouse, directed towards Gaara's legs. Gaara made no motion to dodge, or even block the kick. As the kick spun towards Gaara, Lee expected many possibilities. He expected a last-minute dodge, or a swift block, or even being successful in his strike. He did not expect a wall of sand to erupt from seemingly nowhere and block his kick. Lee's eyes widened as he jumped back when the sand tried to make a grab for him, and he skidded back several feet. He looked at Gaara, then back at the sand, and tried to examine the situation. Gaara had not moved, and he had not felt a single burst of chakra, so it wasn't a seerless technique. But whatever it was strong enough to block Lee's kicks, a feat that Neji himself had incredible trouble with. Gaara finally spoke. Are you done? Lee was broken from his thoughts and smirked. Nope. And he shot at Neji, swinging his arm. Gaara, like before, made no movement against Lee, only waiting for him to get closer. Lee swung his arm, intending a close line. However, like before, his strike was stopped by another wall of sand. This one succeeded in grabbing onto Lee. Lee tried to pull back, only for him to wince as the sand tightened around his arm like an iron vice. Gaara simply stared, and whispered, my turn. Lee suddenly shot through the air, getting whiplash as the tendril of sand wrapped around his arm swung him about like a marionette, and proceeded to smash him into the ground repeatedly. Lee coughed and choked each time he was brought back up from the ground, feeling his ribs break, and his lungs get the air knocked out of him. The tendril of sand swung Lee against the wall, and then without a single second wasted, threw Lee straight into the ground. Gaara looked down at Lee, who was bleeding from the mouth. Gaara then glanced up at the proctor, who, like all the others in the stands, aside from the other Jinchuriki, were staring in shock. Call the match. Hate blinked a few times. The winner is Sabaka no Gaara. He blinked several times, staring in shock. Gaara nodded and turned his head, before he leapt back up into the stands, waiting for the next match. Meanwhile, medics ran to Lee, as did Guy, who had to be held back by the medics. Mato-san, you need to stay back while we stabilize him. We don't want to risk aggravating his injuries. Guy glanced at Lee worriedly. What damage has been done? The medic looked at Lee. Well, from an initial scan, his ribs are broken, and his lungs are under some pressure. His arm is also broken and his neck needs to be straightened. He likely has other smaller injuries, but we should know more later. Now please step back and let us do our job. Guy frowned and looked back at Lee as he was carried out on a stretcher, and sighed heavily before he returned to the stands. After the arena had been cleared up, the board began to cycle through names again. The names began to cycle through faster due to the low numbers. Finally, the board stopped on the next contestants, causing Fu to grin. Oh yeah, Fu versus Hirano Sakura. Fu whooped and jumped into the arena, jumping left and right in a fighting stance. Alright, come on, bring it your best, she said, staring at Sakura, who slowly made her way down to the arena, and stood in front of Fu. Hade looked between them, and spoke. The next match between Fu and Hirano Sakura Hajime. Fu did not waste a single second, and shot at Sakura with speed that rivaled Lee's, and punched Sakura straight in the face. Sakura was sent flying back several meters, skidding across the ground. Fu grinned. Alright, first punch. She lowered herself and then shot forward. Ready or not, here I go. Fu stopped suddenly, stumbling a few feet as she saw Sakura's state. Sakura was flat on her stomach, her face heavily bruised, and her eyes glassed over, but she was definitely still breathing, but she sure as hell wasn't conscious. Fu blinked 6 or 7 times, and she stood up straight, her hand going to her chin as she walked over to Sakura curiously and poked her with her foot. Hello? Fu did not receive an answer. Fu blinked several times again, then snapped around, looking towards Naruto. Brother, is there a play dead jutsu in Konoha? Naruto blinked. Not that I know of. Kakashi frowned at Naruto. Naruto, giving village secrets is a capital offense, I suggest you. Kurenai spoke up. Kakashi, do you even bother to listen to people? Or do you just hear half and fill in the rest? He said that I know of, which implies what, Kakashi? Kakashi looked at Kurenai and frowned. Listen, Kurenai, Naruto needs to know that. Hiruzen finally had enough. Kakashi, hold your tongue. Naruto broke no laws, as was stated. He said that I know of, meaning he doesn't know. It is the same thing as saying I don't know, so unless you yourself wish to be punished for wrongful accusations, I highly recommend you shut it. Kakashi relented, but cast a harsh glance towards Naruto. Meanwhile, Fu was poking Sakura with a stick. Hello, wakey wakey possum jutsu release? She said, poking her in the cheek, then whacked Sakura over the head with the stick. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Fu whacked Sakura over the head with the stick with every consecutive wake up. Everyone watching sweat dropped at Fu's antics. Finally, Fu stopped after the repeated smacking of Sakura broke the stick, and Fu stood up, and brought a hand to her chin. Hade came over and placed a hand to Sakura's neck, and sighed. She is alive, but unconscious. Fu stared into space upon hearing that. She had beaten her opponent with only a single punch? Hade sighed. The winner of this round is Fu? Hade looked to his side. Fu was no longer standing beside him. And he looked up at the stands. She wasn't there. Fu? He looked left and right. A cough up in the stands drew his attention, and he saw Utakata pointing off to the side he had not yet looked at. Hade then turned his head. he was met with the sight of a depressed Fu sitting in the corner of the arena, with a gloomy cloud overhead. Kirabi leaned over the railing and called, Sister, what are you doing? Fu slowly turned her head, revealing a dead look in her eyes as a waterfall extending from her eyes. Lamenting my crushed hopes and dreams, and she turned back to the wall with a heavy sigh. 10 minutes later, they managed to drag the depressed Fu up to the railing, where she continued to sulk. The board began to run through the remaining names, the remaining contestants staring at the screen with anticipation. When the names flickered, everybody was confused. Utakata versus Utakata. Hiruzen stared in shock. What the devil? He walked up to the machine and opened up the panel, looking inside. Meanwhile, Utakata stared in curiosity. What had happened to the machine? Why did it pick his name twice? Sighing, Utakata looked up. It didn't matter. Even if there was an issue with the machine, he would soon be fighting. Hiruzen called up some shinobi who maintained the machine, who began to try and work on it. The contestants waited impatiently while the shinobi tried to fix the machine. Finally, after 5 minutes, Hiruzen walked forward and spoke. Due to an error in the programming of the machine, and due to a new policy that was enacted in the recent months, Utakata will be given a free pass to the Chunin exam finals. To say people were irate was one thing, especially Utakata. Hiruzen spoke up. There shall be no further debate on this. Utakata of Kirigakure shall receive a free pass to the finals. We shall commence with the next run. Hiruzen meanwhile turned his head back towards the machine and frowned. It was working fine before what happened. After the contestants and their senseis had been calmed, the names began to cycle once more. The board finally stopped this time without a glitch. Yugura vs Kinyuta Dosu. Utakata smiled and turned to the standby Jinchuriki. You're up, my friend, kick his ass please, he said with a coldness that was only fueled by his frustration from not being able to fight. Yugura sighed and headed down towards the arena. Dosu seemed to smirk underneath his bandages as he headed down towards the arena as well. Yugura stood upright in the center of the arena, while Dosu stood slouched in front of him. Hate looked between them. Are both contestants ready? Yugura nodded his head. Hi. Dosu snorted. Just start the damn match, Leaf. Hate scowled at Dosu, and sighed. The match between Yugura and Kinyuta Dosu Hajime. For over half a minute, the two opponents stared at one another, waiting for their opponent to make the first move. The proctor noticed this and was about to speak, about to tell them to either start the match, or they will both be disqualified. Suddenly, he had to jump back as seemingly out of nowhere, a large wave of water erupted from around Yugura, forming a shield of water around him. Dosu only chuckled. Impressive. Such a defense would surely nullify most jutsu, however. My technique is something your wall of water cannot block. He then proceeded to run towards the dome of water, seemingly going in a direct path towards the dome. A foolish idea, though his stance implied he was ready to move in case of an assault upon himself. Yugura only scoffed as he waited for Dosu to strike. Dosu leapt towards the dome, and swung his gauntlet-covered arm at the dome, releasing a sound blast, which he assumed would travel through the water, striking Yugura, and securing his victory. He did not expect the sound to get sent right back to him. Aggh. Dosu fell over, clutching his ears in pain sloppily as he felt his motor functions get destroyed. He began to throw up, which was difficult due to the bandages covering his mouth. Yugura released the water wall, which seemed to disappear, and he walked up to Dosu and with a single swing, smashed Dosu into the ground, completely unconscious. Hate stared for a moment. The winner of the match is Yugura. He stared in shock at what he had just seen. So much water had appeared out of nowhere, he dared say it resembled the techniques used by the Naidame Hokage, Tobarama Senju. However, he theorized that it was all sealed inside of his staff. The medics began to clean up the mess left by Dosu, and readied the final round. Utakata spoke up. Hokage-sama, surely you could just have me fight Sasuke Uchiha. He is the only contestant left, and I was never given the opportunity to fight. Hiruzen looked towards Utakata. I am sorry, but due to a new policy, this is not possible. However, you may have the opportunity to fight yet, as the one who will fight Sasuke Uchiha will be a winner of one of the previous matches. This caused a disturbance amongst the winners. Wait a minute, why? Utakata here is ready, as is the Uchiha. Why have one of the winners do it? It would be just an advantage for the Uchiha. Frankly, this just seems like blatant favoritism for Konoha shinobi, since most of the victors are not from Konoha. Hiruzen looked to see Shino, Amaru's sensei, speaking. While yes, there are victors from Konoha, the fact remains that there are so far only 2 winners from Konoha, while all the others are from out of the village. Frankly, this seems more like a ploy to try and give Konoha a larger menagerie to display. There was loud whispering throughout the arena stands, and everyone looked towards the Hokage with an incredulous gaze. Hiruzen sighed. I assure you, it is nothing like that. It is just a policy which due to certain events we have to abide by within the village. I am sorry, but I must follow the laws. If I do not follow them, then what reason will anyone else have to follow them? Everyone got quiet at that, but kept up their harsh glance. Sighing, Hiruzen waved his hand, and the board began to cycle through the winners of the previous rounds. Everyone was staring at the board, waiting for the outcome. Kirabi was hoping to be able to unleash some steam on the Uchiha, Kankuro having forfeited the match before he even started. Fu had broken from her depression and stared at the board. Sakura had been such a pitiful fight that she really wanted to fight somebody else. Utakata stared up at the board. He had not even been given the option to fight, so he hoped that since his name was being cycled, it would fall onto his name. Han had his arms crossed as he stared at the board, his eyes showing pure focus as he waited for the names to cease cycling. Rashi leaned against the railing, similar thoughts going through his head. Yugura had his arms crossed as he gently gripped his staff. His opponent had barely put up a fight, and he had a lot of pent-up energy. Yujito was in a similar position. Tenten had not been a threat to her. Her arrogance and bravado had been her downfall. Yujito wanted another shot at a stronger opponent. Gaara stared impassively at the board as usual. Neji scowled towards the board as he clenched his fists. Naruto only frowned as he watched the board slow its cycle. Finally, the board stopped, revealing the name of the contestant who would fight Uchiha Sasuke. Everyone was surprised at the results. Uzumaki Naruto vs Uchiha Sasuke. Chapter 6, Naruto vs Sasuke and Drama. Disclaimer: I do not own Naruto. I wish to thank Hakio no Yami, Thymysticals, and Raver Crozy for assisting me in ideas for my stories. I was at an impasse, but they managed to help me get this story back up and running. Okay then, enjoy. This is my longest chapter yet. HOHH. Naruto and Sasuke gave each other a glance. They nodded to each other, and then turned towards the steps. Sasuke began walking down towards the steps once he passed Naruto. Naruto followed in step with him. The two shared a look. It was easy to translate. Don't hold anything back. Everyone who still remained watched as the two walked down the steps. Each footfall sounded like thunder. Thump. Their hearts were beating quicker than they ever had before. They wanted this match for a long time, and now they got it. The two split apart when they reached the floor and headed for the center of the arena where Hate was waiting for them. The two stopped once they reached their positions. They turned towards each other with a resounding rush of the air around them. Sarutobi was shocked and angry. Why the hell was Naruto going a second time and against his own teammate? He just knew that someone wanted this fight to happen, and he had a pretty good idea as to who they were. A mile away, 3 old retired shinobi sneezed, all of them thinking, someone must be talking about me. Back to stadium. The Jinchuriki watched Naruto with bated breath. Their hearts were beating. A fight between a Jinchuriki and a host of a demonic virus. This would definitely be a fight to remember. Hate looked as the two opponents stared at each other in the eyes, unaware of the conversations going on in their minds. Naruto POV. I looked at Sasuke, he looked at me. I walked down to the arena. I finally get to fight him. I admit he and I are not the best of friends, but he is the closest thing to a brother that I have. Naruto, damn, I hate it when he does that. Yeah, Kyubi? Be careful. Why does he care? I care because unlike what most people believe, I do in fact have a heart. Do not be fooled. He has advantages just as you do. Don't take him lightly. Is that all he wanted to tell me? No, there is more. What can he read my mind? Yes, I can. You didn't think that if I was inside of you I wouldn't be able to read your mind, did you? Okay, Kyubi, what else did you want to tell me? I waited for his answer as Sasuke's eyes lit up with his Sharingan. He is infected, Naruto. When that snake bit him, he gave him a mark. The mark is a virus, as well as a gift. What was Kyubi talking about? Explain. I heard him sigh in the background. This must be difficult for him. It's like a steroid. It both gives the body great strength, but also harms it. If he uses that mark for too long, he will begin losing his humanity, and eventually he will become a demon. What kind depends on various factors. Pray that you can combat it, Naruto. I don't worry with you and me. I should be know any more than a single tail of chakra and it could kill you. When I took over your body I caused much more damage than I intended. I can grant you up to a tail of power, but be careful. Damn, that leaves me with less power. Oh well, looks like it's time to see what the last few months of training has done for me. Sasuke POV. I saw Naruto as an annoyance when I first met him. I saw him a pathetic ingrate. I hated him, but now I see him as a rival, as something I can measure myself against. And now that I know he is a Jinchuriki, I am scared. Is he Naruto or is he Kyubi? Of course he isn't Kyubi, you fool. What the hell? I was about to look around to see where the voice came from when I felt a massive tug on my mind. Before I knew it, I was standing in front of the Uchiha clan gates, but they were different. The Uchiha clan crest that stood proudly on the compound's gates was now shattered. Ruined, the walls looked as if they had been burned, but they were still standing. Come in. I did not know why, but I felt compelled to walk forwards. I pushed open the gates to see the compound pristine, whole but clearly defiled. The once white walls were now covered in black markings that almost seemed demonic. Well, it's about time you got here. I snapped around to find a sight that horrified me. It was an abomination. The thing standing before me was terrifying. Its skin was gray. It had a pale illumination to its demonic flesh. The creature's nails were long and sharp, and the face it had a black shuriken mark in the middle of its face. Its hair was long, almost like a mane. But the most horrifying thing or things was the wings. They looked almost like human hands, but the entirety of the wing was covered in finger-like growths. There was webbing in between the fingers, so it must have been able to at least glide. The thing grinned at me. Why so surprised? Isn't this what you wanted? The power to defeat Itachi, to revive your clan? I looked at the creature in disgust. What the hell was he? What the hell are you? The creature quirked an eyebrow. It then got into a thinking pose. That's a hard question. The thing cracked a smile. But the best way to describe me would be all of your deepest and darkest desires given form and substance. In other words, I am you. As the creature screamed, the wind picked up as the ground caught fire, and electricity began arcing through the air around me, but as suddenly as it began it stopped. But for now you can call me Uchiha Akuma, and I am offering you power. After all, you are facing against the Jinchuriki, so you will need all the help you can get. I looked down. He was right. I had no idea how powerful Naruto could possibly be, and he would need all the power he could get. If I need your power, I will call. I suddenly found myself looking back at Naruto, whose blue eyes had become slitted. General POV. Everyone watched with bated breath as Naruto and Sasuke stared each other down. The two got into a fighting stance, ready to attack at a moment's notice. Hate glanced at the two. This is going to be one hell of a fight. He raised his arm in the air. The final match between Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke Hajime. The two continued to stare each other down, neither one making a move. The spectators watched. Anticipation was evident amongst them. Hate looked at the two. I said you could start. If you don't start, I. Hate was stopped when Sasuke brought up his hand. Sasuke then smirked as he looked at Naruto. Naruto, you and I, we are so much alike and yet so different. We both grew up alone. We both have potential for power, and we both will not hesitate to use it when the condition arrives, of course. Sasuke looked at Hate and the Sandaime. Sandaime-sama, I call for a clan honor duel with Uzumaki Naruto. Those who knew what Sasuke was talking about were shocked. The Jinchuriki were smirking at this opportunity. Sakura, who had recovered from her match, looked towards her sensei. Sensei, what is Sasuke-kun talking about? Kakashi was wide-eyed from Sasuke's demand. He turned his head towards Sakura and answered. A clan honor duel is a duel between two combatants. It is just like any other match, but it falls under a different set of guidelines. Sakura looked at her sensei but snapped her head towards Guy, who continued. A clan honor duel, it is the closest thing Konoha allows to a death match. The duel must meet certain criteria. 1. Only members of one's clan can interrupt the fight, no matter what happens in the duel, or how close the opponents are to death. 2. There is to be no holding back. All possible attacks are to be used, even lethal ones. And 3rd and final. Guy went silent for a moment, clearly uncomfortable with the last criteria. The loser. Everyone turned their heads towards Asuma, who had remained to watch the matches, is the winner's eternal slave and master of both their clans. Everyone was shocked at the final criteria, a slave, but slavery is illegal. Kakashi must have understood their confusion because he continued the explanation. Slavery is illegal in Konoha unless it pertains to clan matters, which is exactly what this is. The only way for either of those two to ever be free of that fate is if a tie is brought, but according to clan laws, that means both of them will advance to the final rounds. Kakashi looked up to the Sandaime, who nodded his head at Sasuke. And the worst part is that since it is a clan matter, the Hokage cannot say no to it. Naruto looked at Sasuke and smirked. I accept. The two began running through hand seals. Hate jumped out of the way, knowing this was going to get messy. Katon Gokaku no Jutsu, a ball of fire blew out of the Uchiha's mouth. Furton, Daitapa, a massive rush of wind went straight for Sasuke. Boom, the two jutsus collided with each other, as the fire was suddenly redirected back at Sasuke. Sasuke jumped out of the way as he pulled out a shuriken. He threw it at the blonde, who nimbly dodged it. Naruto suddenly placed his hands in his favorite hand sign, Kagebunshin no Jutsu. A dozen clones appeared. Half of them turned into Fuma Shuriken as the rest grabbed each Fuma Shuriken in mid-air. They threw the changed clones at Sasuke. Sasuke jumped away from the shuriken that were dotting the area around him. Sasuke was about to run at Naruto when he suddenly felt pulse of chakra from each Kagebunshin. Oh shit. Boom, the clones that turned into shuriken exploded. Sasuke crossed his arms to block some of the shrapnel, but when he looked up he saw the 6 remaining Narutos coming at him. Since he was in mid-air he couldn't do anything. 3 of the Narutos shot under him. Yazu, the first one, kicked him. Ma, the second one, followed up with a strong set of kicks in the same spot, eliciting a cry of pain. Ki, the third one, delivered a spinning kick that sent Sasuke farther up. Sasuke opened his eyes to see that the other 3 were above him. Two were sticking to the ceiling while the last one came at him. Naruto the first delivered a strike at Sasuke's ribs before adjusting himself in mid-air, sending him back upwards. Sasuke was wide-eyed when he saw the other two Narutos jump off the ceiling and grabbed each other's hands as they spun towards him. Rendan! Sasuke went straight for the ground, but he quickly adjusted himself so the landing would be less painful. He looked up to see that the clones were gone, and only one Naruto was remaining. He ran towards him as he got into a defensive stance. Sasuke threw a strike at Naruto. He dodged to the left and sent one at Sasuke. Sasuke grabbed the incoming punch and charged forwards. Naruto spun to the right as Sasuke charged. He was still holding Sasuke in and delivered a strike. Sasuke saw it coming and flipped out of the way, delivering 3 consecutive kicks to Naruto's face before he rolled out of the way. Naruto clutched his face with one hand as he used the other one to knock away an incoming punch from Sasuke. He jumped back as Sasuke pulled out a kunai and threw it at him. Naruto finally shook off the pain as Sasuke came running at him. Just as Sasuke was about to hit him, he ducked out of the way and kicked Sasuke right in the face. Sasuke rolled before he slammed against the wall. Naruto began panting as he coughed up some blood. He turned to walk away, but he suddenly felt a dark presence. He turned to find that Sasuke was pushing himself up, but he was being surrounded by a tornado of black chakra. Sasuke looked up and had a sadistic look in his eyes. Naruto could not react as Sasuke charged forwards with inhuman speeds. In the stands, Kakashi was about to jump into the match to stop it before Sasuke got out of hand when he was grabbed on both arms. He looked to find Han and Karabi holding him back. What are you doing? If Sasuke's curse gets out of hand, then we will lose him for good. Han tightened his grip on Kakashi's arm as he spoke. Do not interfere. The three turned their attention to the match. Kakashi tried to use chakra to escape, but he felt as if it was being drained as fast as it was being put out. But how? Kakashi never noticed that the steam coming out of Han's back was increasing with each time he pushed out chakra. Back in the fight, Naruto was thrown to the ground. Sasuke smirked as he brought his foot up to crush the blonde's head. As he brought it down, it was caught by the blonde's hand. Sasuke snarled, "Why can't you just?" He was cut off as the blonde suddenly twisted in the air and delivered a kick to the side of the Uchiha's face. Sasuke spun for a second as he righted himself in mid-spin. He looked back at Naruto, who was struggling to get up. He wavered for a second left to right until he shook himself off. Naruto then shot his head up, revealing his eyes had gone from blue to red. Suddenly the arena was covered in killing intent as Naruto roared to the heavens. RAGGHH. Stands. The Jounin began to quake in fear. It did not take a genius to figure out that the chakra Naruto was emitting wasn't human. Sarutobi got up to stop the fight, but he was stopped by a gentle hand on his shoulder. He looked down to find Amaru standing there as if the killing intent was not even there. Let go. He was about to push her off of him when she spoke. Clan law states you cannot interfere. Sit and enjoy the show. Sarutobi wanted to shove the girl off of him, but he knew she was right. He had no say in clan matters, so he could do nothing for the fight. Back to fight. The resulting roar sent a shockwave through the arena, sending Sasuke off of his feet. Sasuke managed to land as Naruto ran at him. Sasuke barely blocked it, but a tremendous amount of pain shot up his arm. He jumped back as Naruto began swiping at him with his newly grown claws. Sasuke began performing hand seals, but he was kicked down by Naruto. He tried to get back up when Naruto delivered a crushing strike to Sasuke's ribs. Sasuke fumbled for a bit. He began to lose consciousness. Everything was dark. Was this how he was supposed to lose to a clanless loser like Naruto? No. Sasuke's eyes shot open as a third tomo appeared in each eye. Naruto was about to slam his foot into Sasuke's chest when he suddenly back-flipped in the air and kicked Naruto in the chin. Naruto skidded down the arena as his face was cut up. Sasuke was panting. He was extremely tired from using the curse mark. He tried to get it off him, but for some reason it was like moving a boulder through quicksand, damn near impossible. Every time he managed to push the marks back, he ended up feeling even more pain, and the marks began to take over again. But how? Naruto began to struggle to stand up, but he did not have enough strength to move. Damn it, Kyuubi, what's wrong? Kyuubi was silent for a minute before answering. Your chakra network is still damaged from when I used my power a few days ago. The only way you are getting up now is if I up the dosage. Are you ready? Naruto looked down for a minute before answering. Yes, do it. Suddenly his body was flooded with Yuki. It felt so good, but it hurt so badly. He shoved his arm forwards and shot himself up. The spectators watched as the two competitors were writhing in agony as their chakra levels spiked. Sasuke began to writhe even more as he was clawing at his face, that voice echoing in his head. I am you and you are me. Embrace me and my power, and we will be beyond what we would do it. Sasuke struggled for a minute, but he finally relented. He let all of the demonic power flow through him as he felt his skin burn and his back begin to crack and rip. Naruto felt his flesh burn and his limbs crack as the Kyuubi's Yuki flooded through him. Was the worst pain he had ever felt in his life. The crowd watched in terror as a red cloak formed around Naruto. A single tail formed in the cloak as ears also formed. It looked like a fox. Sasuke's skin turned gray, a black shuriken mark appeared on his face, and his hair lengthened to form a mane. Just when things could not get any worse, Naruto's claws and toenails lengthened and Sasuke's back began cracking and convulsing. Suddenly his shirt ripped off as two wing-like appendages shot out. The spectators were shivering. What the hell had happened? Sarutobi was wide-eyed. In all his years he had never seen anything like what Sasuke had become, and Naruto, he was becoming more and more feral with each passing second. The two glared at each other as they began to snarl at each other. Naruto got on all fours and began to skulk around like a lion about to pounce on its prey. Sasuke began to follow his movements as he began to skulk around like a falcon about to take flight. Naruto leaped at Sasuke with his fangs bared and his claws extended. Sasuke jumped up off the ground and flapped his wings shooting towards Naruto. The two crashed into each other as Sasuke began flapping his wings upwards. Naruto slashed at Sasuke as Sasuke kicked Naruto in the stomach. Naruto cringed but slashed across Sasuke's chest. Sasuke jumped back as he tore off the last of his shirt. The slashes began to heal, but there were clear marks still there. Sasuke ran at Naruto and grabbed his throat and slammed him into the ground. Naruto struggled for a minute before he shot his arm out, slashing at Sasuke's face. Sasuke managed to move out of the way enough that it did not damage his eye, but he got a slash mark extending from his cheek to his chin. Naruto took the opportunity and shot his arm out, along with his cubified chakra. Sasuke was shot up in the air and slammed into the ceiling. Naruto pulled downwards as Sasuke came shooting towards him and reared back a punch before he could hit. Sasuke opened his mouth and shrieked. Naruto clutched his ears as he fell to the ground. Sasuke used his advantage and swooped onto Naruto before flying up in the air. He let go of Naruto in mid-flight before he began performing hand signs and pulled in a massive breath. Katan, Karya, and in a massive stream of flame came shooting out of his mouth as it transformed into a dragon. Naruto saw the incoming attack and simply roared. The two strikes clashed before an explosion sent the both of them into the walls. Sasuke slammed into the roof before he crashed back down to earth. Naruto slammed into the ground before he rolled into the wall. He looked to see that the two were not moving. The match between Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke as he was cut off when another burst of chakra flooded the room. The two fallen demon-turned shinobi pushed themselves back up. They looked at each other as they snarled at each other. They quickly got into a battle stance as they held out their primary arm. They began focusing chakra into their arms. Everyone was shaking at the amount of demonic energy being released in such a confined space. The demonic aura was overwhelming. The Jinchuriki gave each other glances as they nodded their heads. Sarutobi was actually terrified. He was terrified for a different reason than just the demonic energy. Admittedly, it was part of it, but it was what they were doing that was clear. The two were going to unleash all of their usable chakra on each other. The resulting explosion of demonic energy would not only be felt over Konoha, but it would destroy their chakra networks, ending their shinobi careers. Naruto winced in pain as his arm began to burn as the skin actually began to melt off. Damn, I don't have much time, I got to finish this. Sasuke began to feel sick as he coughed up blackened blood. Damn, this power is poisoning me, it's now or never. The two launched themselves at each other as they cried out the name of the technique they were using, Shukai Chakra Satu. As the two got closer, the energy began to strike at each other, as if they were attracted. The two were only a foot away from striking. Now! Suddenly the two fists were stopped by the Jinchuriki. Han was standing in between the two, grabbing each of their fists. Yujito was holding Sasuke back, and Yagura was holding back Naruto. Kirabi was grabbing Naruto's forearm, and Rashi was grabbing Sasuke's. Utakata was behind Sasuke, holding him from moving, while Fu was doing the same with Naruto, and Gaara was covering both of the two with sand to stop them. The Jounin was shocked. Not even a second ago the Jinchuriki were standing next to them. Sarutobi was slack-jawed. Come on! He remembered that Amaru was standing right next to him as he saw her jump down and ran towards the two. Han was using as much strength as he could to prevent the two attacks from clashing. It made the job easier since his armor could absorb chakra like a sponge, but he could only handle so much. Just as he was about to collapse, the two opponents began to revert back to their human forms. The chakra cloak disappeared from Naruto as Sasuke's skin turned back into its pale Uchiha color. The two slumped down as the Jounin surrounded the two. Kurenai spoke up. Why did you stop the match? Granted, I did not wish for those two to be permanently injured, but isn't it a clan matter? The Jinchuriki turned to Kurenai as Han answered. That's why we stopped it. Did you honestly think we would let our brother be permanently injured? The spectators were confused now. Who was their brother? As if he was reading their minds, Utakata spoke up. Naruto, he is a Jinchuriki like us, so he is family, and thus we are a clan. Granted, it is not an official clan, but in all other terms he is a member of our clan. The jounin quirked and I but let it go when the medic nin came out for the two. When the medic ninja came to get Naruto, Amaru got in between them. We will take care of him, tend to the Uchiha. The medics were about to argue against her, but Sarutobi stopped it. Let him be, they know what is best for him right now. The medics turned towards Sasuke and began to help him, while Amaru began assisting Naruto. Yujito came up and began using some of her medical ninjutsu to heal the damage that Amaru could not get to at the moment. Sasuke watched as the Jinchuriki helped Naruto. They are like him. They consider each other a clan, so you do have family. Naruto, just not related to you. Sasuke closed his eyes and dozed off. Either one would awaken until the next day. The next day, Naruto opened his eyes as he groaned in pain. He tried to move to find himself unable to. He looked and found himself bound down, unable to adjust himself. Damn it, what the hell do they think I am going to do? They think you will go berserk and kill every innocent in the hospital. Would you stop that, damn it? Kyuubi chuckled at Naruto's outburst. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. But besides that, yes, they think that you will go demon on them and slaughter everyone in the hospital. I heard the nurses talking while you were out. Naruto sighed in annoyance. When will these people learn that he is not Kyuubi? Kyuubi sighed. He was disgusted with the humans. Not even the damn Oni treated their own like they treated Naruto. True, Oni had a more savage tendency. But even they refused to harm a child, especially one so pure. The nurse came in clearly feeling a bit frightened by the blonde. Why, you see, can go now. Naruto rolled his eyes at the girl and got out of bed. As he went to the door, before he left, he turned to the girl. If you are so uncomfortable being around me, then don't bother trying to heal me in the first place. He walked out of the room as the nurse looked at the ground, wondering what her sensei would do. Minato sensei, in the Sandame's office. Sarutobi, you must kill that thing for corrupting the Uchiha. Hamura screamed. I agree, that thing should have been killed like the council wanted. Koharu agreed. At the very least allow me to take charge of him. Danzo spoke up. Enough. Sarutobi was severely irked by the elders, so this is why they had Naruto fight Sasuke, so they would try to have a reason to do away with him. Sasuke called for a clan-honored duel. As such, all abilities are allowed to be used. That includes the Jinchuriki's Bijou. The elders were fuming that Sarutobi was not doing as they asked, demanded is more like it, and blew their top. That thing is a monster, it corrupted the Uchiha. Look at what happened to him. Sarutobi glared at Hamura. We both know that Orochimaru did that to the Uchiha, and we both know Naruto had all rights to use his power on the Uchiha, and it was a clan matter. None of us can do anything about it. Sarutobi glared at the three. Now get out of my sight. The elders scoffed in annoyance, and left the office once the door was closed. Sarutobi sighed. Minato, what would you think of these people knowing what they have done to your son? Sarutobi was about to get back to doing paperwork when suddenly the alarm went off in his office. He quickly ran to the security panel and looked to where the alarm had been triggered. It was inside the Hokage monument. Sarutobi wasted no time and shine to the point. Not even a second after he shine did he find himself inside the high security point of the Hokage monument. He quickly threw off his Hokage robes and was standing in his battle armor. He quickly performed hand seals and slammed his hand into the ground. Kuchio's no jutsu. A puff of smoke surrounded Sarutobi. When it cleared, it revealed Enma, the Monkey King. Sarutobi, what is it? He then looked around and saw where he was. So in here, no wonder you came yourself. Sarutobi nodded his head as Enma transformed into a long staff. That's right, the only living people who know about this are you, me, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru. And with Orochimaru showing up again, we can't take any chances. Sarutobi looked around. He suddenly ran towards the wall when he heard a patter of footsteps. The rock shattered as he began looking around again. Hey, old man! Sarutobi snapped his head towards the voice. His eyes widened at who he saw. He was so shocked, in fact, that he did the one thing he never thought he would do. He fainted. 10 minutes later, the secretary was running through the paperwork that was being turned in. Since the Sandame had ran off to check that alarm, which only her and the Sandame heard, since it was only heard in the lobby and the Hokage's office as per instructions by the Sandame himself, she was now stuck with the paperwork. She was about to read through another document. Excuse me, she gave a grunt to let the person know she heard them. I would like you to have Uzumaki Naruto report to the Sandame's office. She sighed. She had nothing against the Uzumaki boy, but she absolutely hated his pranks. She nodded and began to type in a request for Naruto to come to the Hokage's office. She sighed as she looked up. Uzumaki Naruto will be here short. Oh, I thump. The secretary fainted as the person spoke. Thank you, I will be in the office. The person walked towards the office with two individuals walking behind him and another being carried. With Naruto. Naruto was walking down the steps of the hospital. He had checked out and had gone to see if Hinata was okay. She was fine, but she would be in a coma for a few days. Naruto was about to leave the hospital. Hey Naruto! Naruto turned his attention and saw Kakashi heading towards him. I was looking for you. I came to tell you the matchups for the exam. Naruto looked towards Kakashi with a quirked eyebrow. So who am I facing? Kakashi I smiled as he decided to joke with Naruto. What makes you think you are advancing? Wrong idea. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he began to unconsciously release killing intent. I know how clan honor duels work, Kakashi. And I know me and Sasuke tied, so who am I facing? Those who heard Naruto's clearly irritated snap at Kakashi looked at him. Kakashi sighed. Maybe joking around with his student wasn't the best thing to do right now. You will be facing Neji. Naruto tightened his grip on his fists as he began to draw blood. Neji. Naruto snarled out the name as if it was a bitter poison. He looked at his sensei. So what are you going to teach me so I can defeat that bastard? Kakashi sighed as he looked at Naruto. Actually, Naruto, I will be training Sasuke for the next month. Naruto immediately exploded. What? You have got to be kidding me. I have to beat that bastard's ass for what he did to Hinata-chan. Kakashi sighed as he pulled out his book. Look, Naruto, even if I spent the entire month working with you, there is no way you will beat Neji. You just don't have the capability. Besides, Sasuke will be facing that Gaara kid. You saw what he did to Lee may never be a shinobi again because of him. Naruto snarled at Kakashi. And Neji won't be as dangerous? You saw what he did to Hinata. He has no problem trying to kill his own family. Kakashi I smiled at the blonde. Now don't worry, I got a better tutor for you. He turned his head towards the door as someone walked in. Naruto screamed in outrage at the sight of the person. The closet pervert. Naruto was about to continue his tirade when he simply glared at Kakashi. You know what, you can take your hired tutor and shove it up your ass. I will train on my own. Trash. Naruto turned away and walked out of the building as Kakashi simply shrugged his shoulders. Ebisu looked after Naruto, thinking to himself, does he really deserve what has happened to him? Naruto began walking towards his apartment, hoping he could get his scrolls so he could go and train. Naruto snarled as he remembered who he was fighting. Neji, you will pay for what you did to Hinata. Count on it. Naruto was about to turn down an alley when a female red-haired Anbu-shun shined right in front of him. Uzumaki. Naruto, you have been requested to go to the Hokage Tower. I wouldn't keep him waiting. The female Anbu-shun shined away as Naruto grumbled to himself. What does the old man want now? Naruto began walking to the Hokage Tower, ignoring the hateful stares of the villagers. When he finally arrived, the doors were wide open. Not wanting to take any chances, he pulled out a kunai and got into a ready stance. He slowly edged towards the office. He suddenly saw movement in the office that was nothing like the old man's. He performed his favorite hand sign and summoned 3 Kage Bunshin. The Bunshin and him charged into the room, but they stood stock still when they saw who was in the room. The Sandaime was sitting in his chair, knocked out cold. The Anbu from before was sitting on the desk. A girl about his age with red hair was sitting in the chair with her legs crossed, and standing in the middle of the room was the Yondaime Hokage himself. The clones poofed out of existence as Naruto stared at the Yondaime, the one person he hated more than he hated the villagers. It was his fault. He was condemned to hell. It was his fault. He had suffered worse than any criminal ever should. Naruto was about to begin shouting when the Yondaime spoke. Hey Naruto, how are you, oh son of mine? Naruto's eyes widened as he stared at the Yondaime. Why your son? Didn't see that coming. Oh wait, ID ha 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 ha. Okay then people, I will be trying to update Kushina's love soon, so be patient. Sorry. What if Naruto is abandoned by his team in Wave Harem? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.